Chapter 481 Persuasion. Courage. Dalong? What are you doing? Put it away. We are just discussing business. Why would you fire a gun in advance? Wang Hao quickly told everyone to stop, fearing that there would be a conflict here. A conflict is not terrible. Zheng Wei has 2 teleportation rings. If there is any misunderstanding, he can just teleport away. The gain will outweigh the loss. Wang Dalong and the other 4 were stunned. Originally, they were going to take back the iron fire gun, but the last sentence made them have ambiguity. How could you fire a gun in advance? That is to say, it is not the right time yet. Wang Dalong laughed dryly, treating the iron fire gun as an iron rod, hitting the palm of his left hand continuously. With an aggressive look, the other 3 understood and followed suit. No matter how you look at it, it looks like a group of hooligans preparing to rob people on the road. As for Lin Xiaoxiao, she opened her mouth slightly, not knowing how to continue the conversation. In short, the atmosphere at the scene was weird. Brother Wang, you are being too rude. I didn't say I wanted to sell my ring. I came here to... Zheng Wei looked alert, his eyes wandering around the scene, paying attention to any movement here. What's going on? He came here to discuss the acquisition of the business. How come he suddenly came here to sell it? This is a big misunderstanding. Director Zheng, don't rush to refuse. Don't you want to hear what the bargaining chip is? Wang Hao tried to make his smile kinder, and his voice gentler and lower. Finally, he tilted his head to look at Wang Xiaocui. Wang Xiaocui, listen to this bargaining chip, and see if you are willing to sell it. Except Zheng Wei. Everyone else in the field looked at her with strange expressions. Wang Xiaocui hid a teleportation ring. Unless someone else with the ring could sense it, others really couldn't tell. Zheng Wei and Wang Xiaocui entered the town space at different time periods, but he was still willing to walk with her. And he also saved the idea of looking for an opportunity to trade. Therefore, his expression did not change. Wang Xiaocui's performance was very interesting. She subconsciously lowered her chin and looked at the ravine on her chest. And then her cheeks flushed. Then, nodded with a little hesitation. Zheng Wei's expression changed slightly, and he simply continued to talk. What bargaining chips? He wanted to see what Wang Xiaocui could accept as her bottom line. If the bottom line price was not high, he would not mind raising the price to compete fairly. Wang Hao did not hide anything. He first asked Wang Dalong and the other 4 to put away their iron fire guns. And then he told the speech he had prepared long ago, slowly and eloquently. Director Zheng, what do you think of our Filong town? In the future, we will build it into a grand underground city, similar to the small cities in the past. At present, the development momentum is not bad. Wang Hao raised his right arm and pointed to the castle base's stone houses parked a little further away, and then pointed to the 6 cultivated farmlands. Due to time constraints, there are only so many farmlands for the time being. However, these 6 farmlands do not look very good at the moment. A large area of wheat crops planted in them has fallen over, as if they were ravaged by wild beasts. In fact, it was really caused by wild beasts. The hunting in the morning destroyed a lot of farmlands or flower fields. It's okay, Brother Wang. Why are you telling us this? Zheng Wei replied vaguely. With his knowledge, he certainly understands the preciousness of the market town. Building a market town is not a simple gathering of people, but requires the support of all motivated companions. Once there is a mistake in such a large safe area, the destruction loss is equally shocking. Wang Hao cleared his throat, looking calm. Director Zheng, you probably don't know? We have goblin merchants here, similar to NPCs in online games, who can exchange for good props. Where? This was beyond Zheng Wei's expectations, and his originally indifferent mentality shifted inadvertently. Wang Hao pointed to the closed area next to him, where a 2-story retro building stood. Due to the obstruction of vision, only part of the 2nd floor of shop he could be seen for the time being. Of course, the shop is one aspect. Wang Hao paused, walked to the steps again, and set up his high-end castle in a relatively open location. Here, the high-level castle is the only one. As soon as it appeared, it immediately attracted everyone's attention. In front of the castle, a busy thin child was driving 2 white rabbits towards the iron gate of the castle. Not far from the child, the chicken farm and farmland were adjacent to each other, which was very rural. Wang Hao pointed to the chicken farm and continued. Director Zheng, there is another chicken farm there. As long as the conditions are met, we will definitely expand the scale. I believe that in the near future, it will not be a problem to be self-sufficient. During this period, I also got 2 ordinary white rabbits and a dairy goat. I believe that similar animals will be collected one after another, and these will become the foundation of animal husbandry. When there is an external enemy, we all fight together. When there are good plans, we all share them with each other. When there are difficulties that cannot be solved, we all try to help. In this way, the market town will definitely develop. Wang Hao's tone is neither hurried nor slow, without an impassioned speech, nor too much body language to assist. Just like a trickling stream, moistening things silently. Xingwei glanced at the shops, chicken farms and farmland in the distance, and then at the enthusiasm in the eyes of Wang Daolong and the other 4 nearby, and began to believe in the feasibility of the market town. In addition, Wu Lihan, the wrestler bodyguard he had brought in at a high price, and Wang Xiaocui, his companion, all showed an interested expression. But what does this have to do with the bargaining chips just mentioned? As if he had guessed his thoughts, Wang Hao changed the subject and finally got to the point. Director Zeng, I have said so much, but in fact I just want to invite you to join us, and we can all work together to find a stable home in the cave world. Well, after saying this, let's talk about the transaction of the teleportation ring. I believe you have also seen it. Wang Hao patted the wall of the teleportation castle next to him. The town we built is based on this teleportation castle, and it will be the government hall of Filong Town in the future. So, my ring cannot be sold, but the teleportation ring you own can join in. Since Director Zeng has 2 teleportation rings, he must know that the rings can be merged and upgraded. Hearing this, Zeng Wei nodded. He had hesitated before. He hesitated whether to merge the 2 rings, but after weighing the pros and cons, he chose to keep it as it was. To survive in the cave world, 1 more teleportation skill means 1 more chance to save his life. In order to survive, he couldn't be trapped in an unmanned teleportation castle, unless he could have the courage of Wang Hao. After nodding, Xingwei looked at Wang Hao, waiting for him to continue. After the upgrade, the corresponding teleportation castle will also change with the upgrade. I have a bold guess that when it is upgraded to its final form, it will become a solid giant fortress, an aircraft carrier that can shelter more survivors, a real home support that belongs to all of us. Speaking of this, Wang Hao looked at Xingwei eagerly and sincerely, and said the final conclusion: if Director Zeng joins, this giant fortress will have 1/6 of yours. Chapter 482 Red Line. Escape. Xingwei. After all this time, they wanted him to invest. Moreover, they used 2 precious teleportation rings as the capital for investment. I have to say, what a calculation! He was not unfamiliar with the rhetoric just now, and even felt familiar with it in the past, when he was filming a movie. In order to attract a sponsorship, he said more exaggerated and outrageous things than this. What guaranteed box office of over 100 million? Making a lot of money. What guarantee that your goddaughter will become a quasi-first-line star and have a bright future? What the movie will definitely be broadcast during prime time, and the inserted advertisements will be guaranteed to be seamlessly implanted. Wait. As for whether it can be fulfilled, God knows. Even if the prospect described by Wang Hao is very attractive, even if it is really possible to realize it, even if he is a little tempted, he still has to say. Zeng Wei was just about to refuse politely and try to reverse the trick, but a crisp female voice came from his side. I do. This is Wang Xiaocui's voice. Zeng Wei looked over in surprise. Wang Xiaocui looked at him with a face full of longing, raised her right arm, fumbled in her collar for a while, and pulled out a red line. At the lower end of the red line, there was a teleportation ring. Bang! Wang Xiaocui tore the red string apart and handed it forward together with the ring on it. Brother Hao, I want to stay here. Wait! Zeng Wei immediately reached out to stop him. In a hurry, he wanted to snatch the teleportation ring first. This silly girl must have taken drugs. After being fooled by a few words, she was ready to give the ring away for free? Have you never seen someone get something for nothing? Give it to me. I'll pay. Zeng Wei's right hand was just halfway extended, and a rough and slightly hoarse voice sounded behind him. Brother Hao, I want to stay here too. Then, the metal vertical shield blocking him was suddenly retracted. The one who spoke was Wu Lihan. That is, the bodyguard he hired with a lot of money. Damn! This is a betrayal. Zheng Wei cursed in his heart, and his right hand paused for a moment. Just like that, the red string brought the jade rabbit ring to Wang Hao. Just take it, and it will change hands. Wang Hao did not take it immediately, still looking at Zheng Wei. Director Zheng, we have a friendship, and we have a general understanding of each other's temperament. If the investment just now is not suitable, then I will change to another way. I am willing to give 2 gold ingots, or make a water collection basin, and then exchange for the ring in your hand. At the same time, the town also welcomes you to stay, without restrictions. Doing this is to keep the other party here. We can't let him teleport away because of a minor disagreement. It's more convincing to talk face to face than through a chat box. To keep someone, you must be sincere. Showing the greatest sincerity will help people relax their vigilance. Sure enough, Zheng Wei's expression moved. Gold ingots? You can get gold ingots. That's right. You have a high-level castle. You must have come into contact with gold ingots. Zheng Wei showed a look of realization and thought of the second thing the other party mentioned. Water collection basin. What is this prop? As the name suggests, it is a small prop that produces clean water. The initial water production is about 4-5 L per day. If the prop is upgraded, the water production will be even higher. Wang Hao seemed sincere and explained in detail. Oh, I see. Zheng Wei thought for a moment, but still shook his head with regret. To be honest, clean water may be an indispensable resource for others, but it is not so important to me. Gold ingots can upgrade high-level castles, but people are self-sufficient. If I have no ambitions and only want to protect myself, a mid-level castle is enough. That's all. In fact, his words are very clear. The above chips can't move him at all. In addition, he doesn't want to show too much anger about Wu Lihan's betrayal, because it won't help. People driven by profit will eventually turn to profit. He understood this principle. After saying this, Zheng Wei remained alert and was ready to activate the teleportation ring at any time. If the conversation was not going well or the other party had ill intentions, he could teleport away immediately. At this point, everyone present understood Zheng Wei's choice. Lin Xiaoxiao, Wang Xiaocui, and Wu Lihan were fine. The 3 of them did not have any obvious reactions. Wang Daolong and the other 4 clenched their iron fire guns, waiting for an order. At the order, they suddenly attacked. Things are often unexpected. After being rejected, Wang Hao smiled easily, without any intention of embarrassing the other party. Director Zheng, don't be so nervous, and don't rush to refuse. If there is nothing urgent, you can go around the market town. At least the goblin shop is not to be missed. Just then, the ring held by Wang Xiaocui suddenly had an accident. A strange red light flashed, and, accompanied by an extremely slight but sharp low hum, it immediately attracted everyone's attention. Not only that, this strange red light seemed to come alive, and it jumped into the air along the thin red rope. What's going on? This is what everyone thought. The red light flashed 3 times in the air, as if releasing a signal. At the same time, a faint and excited laugh suddenly sounded from the high-level castle in the distance. Ha. Come! The breath returns to the body. Help me get out of trouble. Finally, we've waited for this day. The words were intermittent, and some of them were not clear, but the complete words still echoed in everyone's mind. It was as if they had been imprinted in their minds for a long time. Every time a word was scattered, a strange swirling cold wind would appear in the town space, blowing directly on people's faces. Bang! Pang! Ouch! Close the doors and windows. Elder Bu, why are you closing the door? Why are you talking so much nonsense? Jian Lai, come and help too. Hey! Ping! Bang bang! In the closed area not far away, where the goblin shop was located, a series of movements were heard. In everyone's mind, the image of the 3 goblins in a panic automatically emerged. Not only the goblins were panicking, but in another direction, from the branches of the old tree standing in front of the high-level castle, 5 soul crows, 1 large and 4 small, flew out. They flapped their wings and all headed towards the castle. In their black pupils, there was a raging fighting spirit. In addition to the soul crows, a thin boy ran out of the iron gate and ran towards Wang Hao. While running with all his strength, he kept looking back. After running 7 or 8 steps, his head seemed to be unable to keep up with the rhythm, and fell to the ground and rolled. Even so, The child did not stop and continued to run wildly. Master! My God! A ghost is coming! The head rolling on the ground screamed shrilly. After screaming, the dirty head jumped up and flew into the air. So many abnormalities all indicate that there is a powerful monster in this high-level castle, and it is escaping. Everyone present couldn't help but feel nervous. Chapter 483: The Rolling Spirit Cage. The upper space of the town. Huang Dania was taking Ning Ke to inspect the surroundings, working diligently and meticulously. He was not worried about the teleportation castle. On the contrary, the area near the Brokenwood Mountain gold mine was where he should really worry about. After inspecting along the outermost edge, he finally breathed a sigh of relief when he found no signs of invasion or infiltration. As long as he could hold on until the gold mine was exhausted, he could sleep soundly. Huang Daniu and Ning Ke returned along the original route. Just as they were about to return to the path, a panicked cry from the headless ghost suddenly came from below. Master! My God! There is a ghost! There is a ghost? Huang Dania was stunned. You are just a ghost. And a ghost can be afraid of ghosts. It is simply an international joke. In the eyes of ordinary people, ghosts are a general term. In fact, they all belong to a kind of weirdness. Although there are many kinds of weirdness, their coverage is far less than that of weirdness. In addition to the shouting of the headless ghost, there are also the anxious shouting of the goblins and the noisy crows. The sound is faint enough, but it can be heard. Is there really a ghost? Brother Daniu, do you want to take a look? Ning Ke also heard the strange sound and felt a little flustered. He hurriedly looked at Huang Daniu. Huang Dania hesitated for a moment and made a decision in his heart. Okay, let's... Before he finished speaking, a blurry figure suddenly appeared on the left side of the space. The figure turned from virtual to real. In the blink of an eye, the true face of Lushan was revealed. It was a young man with a melancholy face, wearing a decent blue and white sportswear and a pair of old handmade cloth shoes. Who is it? Huang Daniu's expression tightened. He didn't know Wu Xiao. In the survival challenge, Wu Xiao hid in the prison with a group of people, and the two had never met. Now, there was obviously trouble in the market town below, and a well-dressed stranger suddenly appeared near the gold mine. How could he not worry? While shouting, he and Ning Ke took out the iron fire gun together and pointed the muzzle at the uninvited survivor. If they don't get a reasonable answer, they will pull the trigger without hesitation, rather than let him go. Wu Xiao, don't worry. I have no ill will towards you. I just want to come and visit the owner of this place. Wu Xiao's fingers can feel the heat of the teleportation ring, and the vague call that attracted him to come is under this space. It is not surprising for him to be able to connect the upper and lower spaces into a cave. The props sold in the mall these days can achieve a similar effect. However, it does not prevent him from making a judgment that the owner of this place is very rich. Most people wouldn't be so extravagant. The owner here. Are you here to look for Brother Hao? I guess he's a little busy now. How about I take you downstairs to wait for him? Huang Dania asked in a low voice. No matter what happened in the market town, it's always right to take this stranger there. Letting him stay near the Brokenwood Mountain gold mine is the most unstable factor. Wu Xiao was not polite at all and nodded directly. That's troublesome. Brother Hao is Wang Hao. Right? I didn't expect that he is here too. Yes. Seeing Huang Daniu admit it, Wu Xiao nodded calmly. Since the real owner here is Wang Hao, doesn't it mean that the dragon roar that attracted him here is most likely caused by him? Awesome. In such a short time, he rose to prominence in the cave world, proving that he has extraordinary strengths. Maybe he is also a spy planted by the person behind the scenes? Let's test it out later. Under the guidance of Huang Daniu, the three came to the descending steps and prepared to go down. At this moment, the situation in the lower space changed again. The headless ghost ran forward, and in the iron door behind him, the spirit cage prop that was originally placed in the corner of the wall had rolled out and scattered red light. Is it the prop spirit cage that is chasing him? Wang Hao was shocked. He knew exactly what was in the spirit cage, and the sharp laughter he just heard. If he listened carefully, it was really that red-cloaked ghost. Is she going to escape? No. If she escapes from the spirit cage, I will be the first one to be punished. Run to stop her? Don't be ridiculous. She can control the spirit cage to roll. Even if I run over to suppress it with my mind, it will be in vain. It will even arouse her ferocity. Yes. Take away the firewood from under the cauldron. Xiaoshu. Stop her. Wang Hao made a prompt decision and ordered the Crow King in front of the old tree. At this time, the Soul Crows can still maintain their fighting spirit, which proves that they are at least not afraid. Wow. 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 Hearing the master's order, the Crow King Xiaoshu quickly flapped his wings and rushed towards the rolling spirit cage with 4 little soul crows. Fear? For sure. But for the sake of its master, it must overcome its fear. Dalong, you lead them to disperse and shoot that hemisphere with the iron fire gun. Hey! Wake up! Follow me! Wang Dalong came back to his senses from the shock, pushed his companions around him, woke them up one by one, and then divided them into groups of 2 and ran to the left and right sides. Bang bang. Bang bang. The continuous booming sound seemed unusually dull amid the noise of the headless ghost and the soul crow. On Lin Shishu's side, without Wang Hao's signal, she immediately took out the arrow tower and the Molotov cocktail from her ring, made a bonfire, fired wooden arrows, and threw the Molotov cocktail. The action was impeccable. During the throwing, she took the time to pull out the hamster, kicked it on its fat buttocks, and sent it forward to fight. No matter what the half ball is, it must be a difficult guide to make Wang Hao so nervous. Must go all out. She and Wang Hao were tied to the same bed. Bah! Grasshoppers on the same rope. How could they just sit back and watch? The spirit cage half ball continued to roll forward. Behind it, the snake pet stone chased out, constantly swinging its hard snake tail, whipping it again and again, trying to block or slow down the half ball's progress. The distance was closing rapidly. Time waits for no one. Wang Hao didn't bother to call for help, and immediately turned his head to look at Wang Xiaocui, who had a dazed look on her face. The source of the matter is here. If you want to remove the fire from the bottom of the pot, you have to start with her. Give it to me first. Wang Hao shouted and grabbed the teleportation ring and red rope from Wang Xiaocui's hand. The current time is urgent, and useless gentlemanly manners. Go to hell. Besides, Wang Xiaocui is planning to invest. When the matter is settled, I will compensate her. After snatching the things, Wang Hao quickly pulled off the red rope and threw it directly into the fire beside him. Tang! The flames immediately engulfed the red rope. There is no time to distinguish where the flashing red light comes from now, so I can only destroy it all. After the red rope was burned, Wang Hao did not check whether the spirit cage stopped. At the fastest speed in his life, he brought the Jade Rabbit teleportation ring to the middle finger of his left hand. If you want to completely destroy the rings, you can only merge them 2 by 2. Ding, do you want to merge? Yes. Ding, please select the ring you want to keep. Qinlong. Ding, please confirm again. Do you want to merge the transmission rings? Yes. Wang Hao did not hesitate at all, and his speaking speed was amazingly faster. After the command was confirmed, the half-solid Qinlong phantom suddenly floated out. Chapter 484 Dragons Fight in the Sky. Qinlong, still unruly. When he first appeared, Qinlong lowered his head in a cold and arrogant manner, opened his mouth, and sucked suddenly. The Jade Rabbit transmission ring held between Wang Hao's fingers immediately turned into a stream of jade white light and flew into the dragon's mouth. Goo! Qinlong made a swallowing sound, and then turned his head slightly and looked at Zheng Wei below. To be precise, he looked at his fingers. In a pair of dragon eyes as big as copper bells, there was a look of demand and desire. Zheng Wei felt his heart stop, and out of the instinct to survive, he immediately activated the transmission ring. Just now, he was still in the mentality of watching the show. Such a good show in Filong Town is certainly not to be missed. Maybe it can become the material for filming in the future. As a senior director, he still has basic professional qualities. He dares to face danger without fear because he has a teleportation ring. Once the 2 sides have a victory or defeat, or danger is approaching, he can activate the ring at any time and leave this place of trouble. Now, the shadow of the blue dragon appears in the air, which makes him feel scared for the first time, because he found that this huge blue dragon is not like a dead thing at all, but a life with flesh and blood and thoughts. Just the unruly look makes people feel cold all over. Can't stay any longer. Go! Go now! Ring activated. Teleport. Zheng Wei mobilized his mind and quickly issued an order. Buzz. A respectful Ares phantom immediately appeared in the air. The size of the Ares phantom was obviously much smaller than that of the Azure dragon, The two were facing each other in the air, just like a strong man facing a baby in a swaddling cloth. There was no comparison at all. After appearing, Ares also opened his mouth, wanting to swallow the master who summoned it, and then complete the teleportation. Unexpectedly, the azure dragon raised his head, roared excitedly, and rolled up his tail horizontally, easily pulling the Ares phantom close to himself, and swallowed it in one gulp. Goo! Swallowed it again. After swallowing, the azure dragon smacked his lips humanely, and looked at Zheng Wei's second ring again. How to say it? It was very satisfied. The feeling of being fed by others is super cool. However, Zheng Wei was not satisfied. He was even horrified. After the Ares phantom was swallowed, the Ares teleportation ring on his index finger suddenly shattered, turned into a slowly rising star point, and disappeared in the air. It's gone! My ring is gone? If I had known this earlier, I might as well sell it directly to Wang Hao. Qinglong, the robber. Zheng Wei was angry in his heart, but he didn't dare to show it. He had to force out an ugly smile and hide his right hand behind his back. Now, he was very worried that Qinglong, who was vivid and alive in the sky, would forcefully ask for it from him. Activate the ring? Don't dare. With a previous experience, it would be a fool to rush to give up. Indeed, Qinglong did not intend to give up. Seeing Zheng Wei's resolute not to give, it lowered its suspended body, stretched out its dragon head, and was about to move towards the other party. At this time, on the other side, the headless ghost running forward saw its master in front of it. And suddenly it was like a homeless child seeing his parents for the first time. Its arms were spread wide, and the head dragged behind it suddenly accelerated and passed the headless body, shouting loudly, "Master! The ghost is coming! Master! The headless ghost is afraid! Hug!" As soon as the word hug came out, before it fell, a kick flew up in front of it and kicked it out directly. Hurry up and charge. The head changed direction in the air in an instant, like a precision-guided missile, and suddenly rushed towards another ball rolling on the ground. The soul crows are not afraid. So why are you afraid of a ball? Wang Hao was speechless. Now that the red rope and the jade rabbit transmission ring have been destroyed, the spirit cage should be quiet. The wish is beautiful. After the two transmission rings disappeared one after another, the rolling spirit cage did not stop at all and continued to rush forward. It just shifted slightly in the middle, and the target became the bonfire burning at Lin Xixiao's feet. The red rope just now was burned here. Still not enough? Wang Hao looked closely and found that in the orange-red flame, there was a faint trace of bright red jumping, mixed with the flame core, and it was difficult to distinguish. Really stubborn. Seeing the spirit cage rushing 10 meters away, Wang Hao did not hesitate and took out 3 more Molotov cocktails. Xiao Xiao, get out of the way! Since the flames are not enough, add another one. Lin Xiaoxiao understood immediately, and immediately moved away from the bonfire. She also took out 2 Molotov cocktails, and threw them over. Stinky boy. Stinky girl. Stop it! The spirit cage ball dodged a snake tail bombardment, and seemed to see the abnormality here, and immediately let out an angry scream. Moreover, the speed was increased to the extreme. Obviously, she wanted to rush in at the last moment to rescue Hengxi in the flames. Seeing this scene, Wang Hao became more and more sure that his adding fuel to the fire was effective, and the 3 Molotov cocktails were thrown out at once. Bang! 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 5 Molotov cocktails shattered in the bonfire, and the flames immediately soared 3 meters high, as if to illuminate the entire cave red. At the same time, the azure dragon phantom was also disturbed by the movement here, and turned its head strangely. Perhaps, calling it a phantom is no longer appropriate. After swallowing 2 teleportation rings in succession, its body has become much more solid and quite vivid. Its eyes moved away and fell on the spirit cage ball. Suddenly, a strong desire bloomed in its puzzled eyes, even more than the teleportation ring. Ayo! The azure dragon roared, and with a flick of its tail, it rushed towards the rolling spirit cage. This long roar actually made a real sound. No longer silent. In just a moment, the azure dragon flew to the front of the spirit cage. The dragon head quickly drooped, and opened its mouth to suck again. Whoosh! The spirit cage immediately left the ground and flew towards the open dragon's mouth. Stinky dragon! Are you looking for death? An angry scream rang out in the spirit cage. As soon as the scream fell, an illusory hemispherical projection suddenly appeared in the air. It was a cage. In the light cover that looked like a cage, a woman in red with disheveled hair was holding the railing with both hands and pulling hard. It was this pull that caused the Azure Dragon's strong suction to stagnate and could not move forward any further. A deadlock appeared in the air. Wang Hao caught a glimpse of the projection from the corner of his eye, and a storm immediately rose in his heart. Without my intention, the spirit cage actually triggered the cage projection, which was completely beyond my imagination. Fortunately, I didn't try it rashly. If I had been braver just now and wanted to control the rolling spirit cage, I would definitely be countered by the red-dressed woman inside. The gunshots were interrupted. The arrow tower stopped. The Soul Crow's siege was dispersed. The snake tail bombardment stopped. The savage blockade of the rat and the charge led by the headless ghost also came to an abrupt end. After the projection appeared, all attacks on the spirit cage hemisphere stopped. The survivors present, including the battle pets and soul pets, all looked up at the tug-of-war in the air, shocked beyond words. The cave was silent for a moment, except for the crackling of the raging flames. The only one who spoke in the field was Wang Xiaozui, who had the lowest sense of presence. At this moment, she muttered to herself, "Sister Hong. Chapter 485 What about my ring?" In her survival challenge, she should have died early without Sister Red. After saving herself, she also took herself all the way, and she avoided several crises during the period. This kind of grace could not be described with simple gratitude at all. Later, Sister Hong disappeared into the spirit cage inexplicably. Now, I met here. Wang Xiaozu's self-talk is very mild and unacceptable. People present never heard it. At the high place in the air, Qing Long is still confronting the projection that emerges with the Ling cage. You can fight for me, and it is difficult for anyone to take advantage of it. Time has passed shortly after a few seconds. Perhaps 10 seconds. The spirit cage on the ground slowly moved forward. Affected by it, the projection of the cage suspended in the air also moved forward. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that Qing Long was slightly at a disadvantage. Gradually, the shadow of Qing Long became impatient. The dragon's eyes, as big as copper bells, flashed and glanced at the lower part. Then, Qing Long quickly gathered his strength and moved towards Zheng Wei's position like lightning. When it got close, it swung its dragon tail and pulled Zheng Wei's right arm up. With a strong suction, the only remaining teleportation ring made a slight click and broke into 2 pieces, falling straight to the ground. At the same time, 7 or 8 wisps of light smoke escaped from the broken ring and flew into the open dragon's mouth. When the smoke was completely absorbed, the broken teleportation ring turned into a small pile of white powder the moment it fell to the ground. "No! My ring!" Zheng Wei cried out in pain. He hurriedly pulled back his arm, bent down, held up the pile of white powder with both hands, and squeezed it together desperately, trying to restore it to its original state. Unfortunately, his efforts were doomed to be in vain. He was extremely hurt that 2 rings were taken away by Qing Long in a row. If he was traded away, although he would be unwilling, he would never leave a single hair behind like now. Damn Qing Long. Zheng Wei loosened his hands, sat on the ground, and looked up at the top of the cave with a pair of absent-minded eyes. I regret it so much. From the beginning, I shouldn't have come here. I didn't get any advantage, and I lost my treasures. If God gives me another chance, I regret it so much. Regardless of Zheng Wei's self-pity, since Qing Long gave up the absorption on his own initiative, the red-dressed woman in the cage projection is no longer bound. Stinky dragon. You wait! The red-dressed woman screamed angrily and continued to rush towards the blazing bonfire. Since Qing Long can snatch the ring to strengthen himself, she must also find a way to restore her strength and take the opportunity to escape. In the bonfire, there is her backup plan. Who is faster? All this happened too fast. The initial blocking battle turned into a special fight between Azure Dragon and the woman in red in a flash. Wang Hao saw that the woman in red was still rushing towards the bonfire with a relentless evil, so he simply made a risky move. In terms of speed, it can't be compared. However, when it comes to delaying time, we have many survivors. As long as Azure Dragon is free, it will definitely chase the woman in red. In the situation where it has not completely escaped, the chances of winning on our side are very high. Wang Hao moved sideways 2 steps, came to the bonfire, took out an engineer's shovel, and quickly swept the flames. Collect. A burning flame, along with the red charcoal, and a hint of bright red, disappeared immediately before his eyes. The remaining fire quickly filled this blank. At the same time, a small bonfire flashed inside the iron gate of the high-level castle. Want to successfully retrieve the red silk? No way. After doing all this, Wang Hao did not stay where he was, but turned around and ran to the open distance. The action just now was angering the woman in red. If she retaliated in anger, he was not sure that he could withstand a few rounds. Everyone disperse. Don't gather in a group. While running wildly, he did not forget to remind everyone. In an instant, everyone dispersed, except Wang Xiaocui. Another place. After swallowing the third teleportation ring, Qilong burped with an unsatisfied feeling, and flicked his thick dragon tail, and jumped to the upward stairs in the distance. That was the passage to the upper space. At the stairs, two people happened to come down and looked over here curiously. The raging flames burned wildly on the ground, and even without the flammable materials such as wood, they did not weaken at all. And the fight and gunshots just now. It is normal for people to be curious about this. However, the Qilong who dodged and pounced on them caught the two of them off guard. Without thinking, they turned around and ran to higher places. The two people were Huang Daniu and Wu Zhao. Originally, they were going to help, but seeing Wang Hao and his group of people beasts running away, they dared not pretend to be rich. Run! Run in separate directions. The two of them were in sync and immediately made the most correct choice. For Huang Daniu, the choice was correct. But for Wu Zhao, Qilong watched the two run separately, and the dragon's tail swung slightly, and then rushed towards the fleeing Wu Zhao. In terms of speed alone, who can beat it? Just move the dragon's body 3 times, and the target is right in front of it. Qilong did not make any extra movements, and repeated the old trick, opening his mouth and sucking suddenly. Who? A strong wind wrapped around Wu Zhao's right hand. Ka! The white tiger transmission ring worn on the index finger broke into 2 pieces and fell off directly. The same wisps of light smoke escaped. The same turned into powder. Wu Zhao felt his fingers cool, and the burning sensation disappeared. He didn't bother to check and continued to run. His life was at stake, so he couldn't be distracted. However, Wu Zhao saw from the corner of his eye that the azure dragon monster chasing him seemed to have suddenly lost interest in him, burped twice in a row, and turned back. He didn't know if it was because of his eyesight, but the azure dragon seemed to be extremely satisfied when it left. Its huge body twisted wantonly, and the dragon scales covering its surface were more realistic and vivid than before. He ran more than 10 meters by inertia. Wu Zhao was sure that the azure dragon was no longer chasing him, so he simply stopped and leaned against the earth wall on one side. I escaped. Only then did he have time to check his right hand, trying to figure out what had just happened. His right hand was not injured. His identity ring was also firmly on his middle finger. And Wu Zhao's breathing stagnated, and his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Damn! Where's my ring? Where's my teleportation ring? Where did it go? At this moment, he was a little panicked. This ring was his darling, and its importance was no less than his identity ring, which was the foundation of his life. Thinking of the abnormality not long ago, a bad idea flashed through Wu Zhao's mind. No! No, no! Don't do that. Wu Zhao waved his hand to summon the girl Xiaoling, and pointed anxiously at an area behind him. Xiaoling, help me find the ring. Look for it carefully. After giving the order, Wu Zhao immediately lay on the ground and moved forward inch by inch. Every time he moved, he would carefully dig up the loess, fearing that he would miss a single bit. The girl Xiaoling also lay down and turned the soil to search. The view turned back to the vicinity of the teleportation castle. The red-dressed woman did not chase the scattered targets to vent her anger, but cursed angrily and turned around to rush to the high-level castle. Wang Xiaocui pursed her red lips, gritted her teeth, and quickly followed behind. Chapter 486. I'm not willing to give up. The woman in red is the woman with the slit mouth. A distance of more than 100 meters is nothing to her. In a flash, she, who was in the projection of the cage, had arrived in front of the iron gate of the high-level castle with the rolling spirit cage hemisphere, and was about to rush in. Whoosh! The burning bonfire seemed to have grown legs and disappeared in an instant. No! The woman with the slit mouth screamed angrily. The anger of being fooled made her lose the last of her sanity. The corner of her mouth was stretched to tear directly behind her earlobe, as if she was going to split her whole head in two. She felt it a little, turned her body immediately, and rushed in the opposite direction. The spirit cage ball also turned. Behind the iron gate of the castle, the door bar spirit and the bench monster pressed against the cold wall. When they found that the slit woman had suddenly left, they relaxed as if relieved. They also wiped the sweat off each other's foreheads and felt extremely lucky. Both spirits knew what was going on outside. Through the narrow crack of the door, they could see everything. If the bonfire did not disappear, the two spirits were ready to knock the enemy out with a club. Although they might not succeed, they had to do something. After all, this was also their territory. If the invaders were allowed to come and go easily, it would be too disgraceful. After seeing Wang Hao, they couldn't stand up straight. Now, it's good to not use force. The two monsters were thankful again, because they were 100% unable to beat the slit-mouthed woman. As for the disappeared bonfire, it was of course moved away by the master's mind, and they were not curious at all. As soon as they relaxed, the two monsters hurried to the narrow door, stacked up one on top of the other, and peeked out again. The red back was still clear. In the distance in the direction of the slit-mouthed woman, Wang Hao ran towards the stairs of the upper space. His speed was already very fast. At this moment, the virtual shadow of the Azure Dragon was quite close to him. Perhaps it would be more appropriate to call it a real shadow now. After accidentally swallowing the fourth teleportation ring, the Azure Dragon became very excited, and his physical strength doubled. It attributed all the credit to the young man in front of it for the current benefits, because these survivors carrying teleportation rings were all called by Wang Hao. Seeing Wang Hao running towards him, Qinglong's bright eyes showed deep gratitude. At the same time, the corners of his mouth rose. After blooming a smile, Qinglong swung his thick tail, and the huge dragon body passed Wang Hao, blocking the way for the slit-mouthed woman, opened his mouth and sucked again. This time, after replenishing 2 meals of rations, the suction power of the dragon's mouth increased by more than 1/5. Whoosh! Whoosh! The whistling wind swept across the ground quickly, rolling up a large piece of yellow sand, like a small sandstorm. The slit-mouthed woman, who had been able to fight and gain the upper hand before, now had no advantage at all. She dragged the cage projection and was sucked into the dragon's mouth. The spirit cage on the ground was no exception. No, I won't accept it. The voice stopped abruptly. The world was quiet. Everyone in the field. A huge chaos was just so easily quelled. It's hard to imagine. The people who were fleeing in all directions, while paying attention to the situation in the field, now saw the prison projection and the ball being swallowed up, and they couldn't believe their eyes. They stopped hesitantly and looked over here from a distance. The floating Qinglong stretched out his tongue in satisfaction, licked the side of his mouth, and then burped a long time. Not just one. After burping, Qinglong raised one of his front paws, clenched it into a fist, slapped his belly 3 or 5 times, and burped the second and third time. It seems he is a little full. Even so, Qinglong still looked at the small bonfire in front of him. Inside the bonfire, the line of bright red was twisting in a manic way, as if venting endless anger. Or, it was fear. Qinglong blinked in confusion, stretched out his body, and was about to cut the grass and root it out. As if sensing the crisis, the bright red thread trembled several times, and actually passed through the burning bonfire and rushed towards the nearest figure. The closest person was Wang Xiaocui, who was running back and forth. The red silk thread that sprang out was like a nimble little snake. One end of it swam a few times and had already entered Wang Xiaocui's heart, continuing to pierce in. At that time, the Azure Dragon suction had arrived. The powerful suction force immediately pulled the red silk tight and straight. With a light sound of pu, the red silk broke into 2 parts. One part was sucked into the dragon's mouth, and the remaining part, less than 1/5, was completely immersed in Wang Xiaocui's body, and no trace of it could be seen. During this period, Wang Xiaocui behaved quite cooperatively, without any resistance or evasion, as if she didn't care about the so-called foreign body entering the body. Stop? How to stop it? Who has the strength? The real Qinglong didn't care about the little loss at all. He smacked his lips twice and looked at Wang Hao behind him. Roar. The Qinglong roared, and then nodded to him several times like humans. Finally, The dragon body shook and took the initiative to get into the teleportation ring on Wang Hao's left hand. The two powerful protagonists of the slit-mouthed woman and Qinglong disappeared. The burning fire was almost extinguished due to the lack of subsequent fuel supply. This cave space has returned to its previous tranquility. Everything is settled. Russell. Wang Daolong and his group confirmed that there was no danger here. And they all approached Wang Hao. Brother Hao. What's up with that red dress ghost? Her mouth is so wide open. It seems like she's not a good person. Why is she here? Due to the projection. The four people didn't know that the weirdo trapped in the prison was the famous slit-mouthed woman. They just thought she was a powerful weirdo. Now, Wang Hao didn't want to talk about this. So many distinguished guests appeared here. And they all carried teleportation rings, which was worth investigating. One by one. The closest one must be Wang Xiaocui. Just now, although she had the action of protecting the slit-mouthed woman, she deserved her preferential treatment for the teleportation ring that was sent to her on her own initiative. Wang Xiaocui. Now, do you still want to stay here? If you are willing, I will let Daolong help you arrange accommodation. If you have any difficulties in the future, you can come to me. Also, if you don't mind, can you tell me your story with her? Oh. Because the spirit cage that trapped the slit-mouthed girl was swallowed by the Azure Dragon. Wang Xiaocui was a little absent-minded, and she only responded subconsciously. But she still looked worried on her pretty face. Seeing that she didn't mean what she said, Wang Hao was about to remind her again. But his arm was hit hard, and he lost his balance and stumbled. That's enough. We girls don't need you two men to take care of it. So let me take care of Sister Xiaocui's placement. Right? Yes. I knew it was Lin Xiaoxiao as soon as I heard it. Oh. The collision was quite strong and powerful. Wang Hao turned his head and happened to see a beautiful smile, which seemed to be smiling but not smiling. He suddenly felt guilty. Bah. Why should I feel guilty? I didn't do anything wrong. Chapter 487, Collecting Resources Crazy. Oh. Just ignore it. Although he refused to admit that he was guilty, he still moved his eyes away and pretended to look around. It seems that there are two other distinguished guests. Then changed the target to chat. You can't hang yourself on a crooked tree. At this time, Wu Zhao and the girl Xiaoling were still lying on the ground searching, trying to dig out their teleportation rings from the soil. Even though they knew that there was little hope, they were still reluctant to give up. Perhaps they wanted to use the name of searching to cover up their powerlessness. Zheng Wei, who was a little further away, was not much better either. He looked distraught, and it would probably take a while for him to recover. When people are emotionally unstable, they are particularly prone to do irrational things, especially when facing a vested interest. Wang Hao thought about it and decided to let them calm down first, and wait until they fully accepted the reality of the ring's loss before talking to them about compensation. He disdains to take advantage of others for nothing. In the end, it's better this way. The transaction item has become a thing of the past, a fact that is set in stone. So there is no capital to ask for an exorbitant price, and the conversation will be smoother. Wang Hao waved to Huang Daniu, whispered a few words in his ear, and then called Wang Daolong alone and walked towards the Haiyan Castle 100 meters away. According to the plan, it was time to use the gathering stone to recall the 5 companions who were out hunting in the wild. In the early stage of the construction of Filong Town, the necessary cave excavation could not be stopped until it was completely on track. In addition, the two had to hand over a part of the iron fire guns to replenish the bullets consumed in the past 2 days. 40 minutes later, Wang Hao made 100 iron fire guns and handed them over to Wang Daolong, who was responsible for the distribution and sale. Resources? He didn't have to pay. Wang Daolong had already raised enough formula resources, and all Wang Hao had to do was move his fingers. Of course, he still had to take back the resources of the 40 iron fire guns last time. Now, he urgently needs to fill the resource gap. 80 units of iron ingots, 80 units of wood, 80 units of kerosene. These are not small numbers. The 5 people who went out have returned to the market town, after hearing the companions who stayed behind tell about the Dragon Ghost battle just now. They were amazed and regretted that they missed a great drama. After handling official business, the rest is personal business. Wang Hao went upstairs, leaned back on the black sofa, and called up the system panel. It's time to collect resources. He had a hunch. The weird upgrade of the teleportation ring this time may be sending a signal. That is, a big change is coming. In order to seize the initiative, he must complete the final upgrade of the castle as quickly as possible. He already has the answer to what to sell. The engineer shovel is such a popular item, so he must continue to sell it. He just changes the exchange item to quickly accumulate iron ingot resources. Selling item, 1 engineer shovel. Exchange item, 15 iron ingots. Transaction volume, 300. Note, in addition, the enhanced engineer shovel is sold, which requires an additional attribute spirit. The minimum sale is 10, and the larger the quantity, the better. Next, selling sleeping bags. Sleeping bags are made of 2 materials, hemp balls and leather, which can be used to replace part of the stone. Everyone has some stones. Exchange a pile of cold stones for a warm and comfortable sleeping bag. I believe many people are tempted. In the era of eating raw meat and drinking blood, who doesn't want to have a harbor to protect the body? Who doesn't want to sleep peacefully? When you are full, you have to think about warmth. When you are full and warm, you can consider a deeper level. Everyone understands. Selling item, sleeping bag 1. Exchange item, stone 25. Trading volume, 50. The third one. The second generation of apples. These fresh and juicy fruits were originally reserved for making juice, but now they are taken out to save the situation and exchanged for some insignificant stones. I believe many people are interested. Even if it can't be sold, it doesn't matter. Selling item, second generation apple 1. Exchange item, stone 80. Trading volume, 50. The last one. It's clean water. Of course. Compared to other necessities, clean water must have a market, and it's worth giving up some of it in order to accumulate stones as quickly as possible. Selling item, clean water 500 milliliters. Exchange item, stone 100. Trading volume, 300. After successfully putting these products on the shelves, Wang Hao took out the mechanical alarm clock and glanced at the time. 14:38. Well, take a short nap first. After waking up, go to the goblin shop for a walk. Wang Hao took off the cloak of invisibility, covered himself with it, and closed his eyes. No matter what time it is, the chat channel is always the most lively place. Without a doubt. Here, everyone can forget the troubles and loneliness faced in reality, and can also keenly discover some business opportunities or news, and can also solve some problems that confuse themselves. However, not every survivor has time to stay in front of the chat channel to pay attention to every message. Except for news dealers. This part of the survivors eats this bowl of rice, and they have to keep a keen sense of touch at all times. After Wang Hao's goods were put on the shelves one after another, a young man wearing myopic glasses immediately discovered the business opportunities in it, and sold the news to those who needed it. Of course, he couldn't ignore such a friendly transaction price, so he also bought one. If Wang Hao hadn't fallen asleep and had the panel open, he would find that the system messages were continuously scrolling up, one after another. In a short time, 1/3 of the 4 items on sale were sold. It turns out that news dealers can only seize the first opportunity for a while. After all, Wang Hao has put enough products on the shelves. Soon, others found the bargain. The world chat channel suddenly became lively. Haha. A big guy is selling water and apples, and I bought one of each. Everyone hurry up and buy them. The quicker the better. I'll go check it out. There really is one. There's also a sleeping bag? It's only 25 stones. Love it. The guy above is a fool. Isn't it good to exchange stones for water and food? The price of building resources changes every day now. Wouldn't it be better to wait a little longer? Tisk, you're too narrow-minded. A summer insect can't talk about ice. A well frog can't talk about the sea. Everyone's pursuit is different. Well, it turns out to be the work of our big domain brother Hao. No wonder. I'll go stock up on 2 shovels. Brother above. Which big domain are you from? Can you help us connect? Our Tiger Head gang is in urgent need of a large amount of clean water, but we won't exchange it for building resources. Also looking for the contact information of the big boss. Oh my god. The order for clear water is gone. It was snapped up so quickly. How many years of single life did you develop such extreme hand speed? Look. There are not many apples left. They are also sold out. Oh my god. Exciting. Emma. The apples are so sweet. Selling 10 barrels of high salinity seawater with special purification equipment. Hurry up and buy it. Just one word. No waiting. The one above the floor above. The one who hoards shovels. Did you ask for help? The Tiger Head Gang will remember your favor and give you a small souvenir. Chapter 488 tomorrow. Let's do this. In the World Channel. There is a lot of noise. Thanks to the silent chat here. If there is sound, it will be absolutely noisy and make people's brains hurt. In the large domain channel, it is also very lively. The only difference is that there is less gloating. There is a little more harmony. Zhao Bingji, is there a hole in your head? Why did you expose Brother Hao's name? If other large domains cut in at a high price, we still have a chance to buy cheap goods. That's right. Stupid. I guess Brother Zhao is too happy. He didn't mean it. Sister Ting is really a kindred spirit. My friends, I know I'm wrong. Isn't that enough? Seeing someone speak for him, Zhao Bingji added a pitiful expression. Has everyone gone to stock up? In the future, we must not let the clean water flow out to other domains, and strive to digest it internally, so that the fat water does not flow to outsiders. Agree. I agree with both hands. Brother Hao, are you there? I want to buy reinforced engineer shovel. Now the 10th excavation is over, and I'm so bored that I'm rubbing my feet in the mud. And the upstairs is so heavy. If you need anything, you can register with me, and I will pass it to Brother Hao. People in the same domain should help each other. Li took advantage of the opportunity and promoted it in the channel. Yes, Brother Hao entrusted me to sell a batch of iron fire guns. The price is super low. Only 3 units of iron ingots. Wood and kerosene are needed. Each person is limited to 1 per day. If you want to buy again, you need to exchange old for new. If you are interested, please chat privately. Wang Daolong followed closely. Brother Daolong, can you make the iron fire gun for me? I will provide the strengthening materials. Throwing a wink.gif redlips.jpg. A female survivor named by Jia throws a wink and red lips expression. Sorry. If you want to make it for me, you have to settle in Falong Town. You need to queue up for review. White weapons are enough. Unless you are fighting a big boss or survivors fighting each other. How do I enter Falong Town? Brother Daolong, are there any contributions? Handling fees, etc.? Of course not. Brother Hao doesn't need your little money. But I need to be assessed for my character. I want to sign up. Sign up +1. Sign up +2. The big domain channel is really lively. Some are happy. Some are sad. Qin Yujiang and Chen Han are repairing a cave that has been cleared. The number of excavations today has long been exhausted. But the destination of this trip has not yet been determined. This is also helpless. The two plan to repair until midnight the next day and continue to follow the guidance of the ring. One thing is certain. The destination is very close. And the call felt by Qin Yujiang has become extremely obvious. At this moment, they were all paying attention to the chat channel of the Great Domain. After a long time, Chen Han looked at Qin Yujiang. Alliance leader, should we save some enhanced engineer shovel, which can increase the number of excavation times and will never be outdated? I think it's okay. Qin Yujiang hesitated for a moment and agreed. Actually, I'm worried about another thing. Alliance leader, are you talking about Wang Hao's Filong Market Town? Chen Han said. Yes, they are developing too fast. And the shortlisted survivors can buy iron fire guns at a low price. And it seems that they can also get an extra piece of farmland. The benefits are really great. In the past 2 days, the frequency of appearance of Filong Market Town is too high. And almost every hour someone is dividing the work and refreshing the screen. Now, no one in the entire Jiaowu domain doesn't know about it. How should I put it? Filong Town and Nyochi Chotian League are equally famous. You know, Chotian League started much earlier than Filong Town. Now that this situation has occurred, it is really hard to say whether it will surpass it in the future. Chen Han sighed. Is it true that Chotian League is not attractive enough? Old Chen, we can't be discouraged. The temporary highs and lows don't mean anything. The arrival of this teleportation ring is our major turning point. Qin Yujiang was determined. He first turned the ring in appreciation, then patted Chen Han's left shoulder to cheer him up. He was also cheering himself up. Although the teleportation ring was very hot, he still put it on his index finger and didn't want to take it off. I listened to the leader. Well, reinforced engineer shovel. I will contact Wang Hao. You take a 3-hour break, and I will guard the first shift. Okay, leader. I'll go in first. Yeah. Xin Yujiang picked up the fading campfire and looked into the distance with deep eyes. Chen Han stood up and walked into the high-level castle next to him. Filong Town. Ding Chong found Wang Daolong and was a little embarrassed. Brother Daolong? Can you ask Brother Hao for me? When will the town teleportation book be used? What? Can't wait? I can wait. I can wait. But I'm a little itchy. I used to be a big fan of Dark. I've been to the dairy farm thousands of times. If we can do it. Ding Chong got more and more excited, his eyebrows flying. Wang Daolong laughed and punched him, interrupting his nonsense. Okay. I'll go find Brother Hao later. Just patrol with me first. Okay. On the other side, Zheng Wei and Wu Zhao finally calmed down and accepted the fact that the ring disappeared. We are both wanderers in the world. So why should we know each other when we meet? In fact, the two had met in the survival challenge. And they could be considered to have met before. Faced with the toxic storm and the front and back attacks of the spirit cage monster, they made the same choice. Now, after many twists and turns, fate has played a big joke on them again. Bitter in the heart. After a talk, Wu Xiao has learned the truth. His teleportation ring was swallowed by the Azure Dragon. And then the swallowing upgrade occurred. Not simply lost. He also learned that Wang Hao had previously proposed to Zheng Wei to acquire it. But the negotiation failed. And then a chaotic battle broke out. The chaotic battle must be real. It's not a show. Because of this, Wu Zhao felt even more guilty. It turned out that he had traveled thousands of miles just to be a money-giving boy. Regret? Really regretful. What else can be done now? You can't force Wang Hao to command the Azure Dragon Ring Spirit to pull out the food he ate. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Since it is not feasible to get the ring back, you can only find a way to make up for the loss. And pay as little as possible. Zheng Wei. That's the idea. Zheng Wei took the initiative to find him. And he also had the intention of joining forces and trying to gain some say. Brother Zheng, let's discuss it. Do you think Wang Hao will accept the deal? The bargaining chips, we have none. Brother Wu, I think Wang Hao is a man who does big things. This matter will benefit him after all. He will not do anything rogue in front of so many people. Zheng Wei was also trying to convince himself. That's good. Tomorrow. Let's do this. Chapter 489, the 15th day. Starting from upgrading the water collection basin. Cave calendar, 1 year 1 month 15th. 005. Wang Hao closed the shop with satisfaction. Lifted the cloak covering his body. Stretched his body. And stood up from the black sofa. A new day. A new hope. Today's hand speed is quite satisfactory. He snatched 2 of the limited edition props wall-breaking machines sold in the mall, which was worth his hard work of staying up late. If the copper coins are gone, you can earn them again. The balance of more than 3,000 copper coins can also support for a while. So there is no need to feel bad. Money is a fool. Spend it, and then earn it. Oh, by the way, take a look at the results of yesterday's sales. Wang Hao switched to the transaction interface, glanced at it casually, and was immediately overjoyed. The 4 commodity modules on display have turned gray. This means that all 4 items on the shelf are sold out. It seems that his sales strategy is correct. Click to collect. Seeing so many resources coming in, Wang Hao felt that his previous thoughts were still relatively conservative. At first glance, the building resources required to upgrade the castle base are very many. In fact, after making certain choices, these resources are really not a problem. Wang Hao went down to the first floor of the castle and walked slowly in the resource area on the right, looking at the numbers floating on the piles of resources. His heart was full of pride. All of these are what I saved. Stone 91,815. It is very close to the unattainable 100,000. Wood 5,687. Well, this is a little bit worse. It's decided. The focus of the next purchase will be on wood. Iron ingot 7261. The difference is not much. We need to keep up the good work. Copper ingot 953. This is still short of 47 units. I will buy it later. Silver ingot 188. This item has been met. You can ignore it. Gold ingot 10. Among them is the share of the gold mine set by Huang Dangyi yesterday. The amount is just right. Not more. Not less. Keep going. Wang Hao quickly put 2 new orders on the shelves according to the resources currently lacking. Selling items. 500 milliliters of clean water. Exchange items, 92 stones. Trading volume, 110. Selling items, 500 milliliters of clean water. Exchange items, 100 wood. Trading volume, 140. As long as there is a burst of orders this time, the stone and wood will be enough. In order to speed up the acquisition, the transaction ratio he gave was much lower than that of other survivors. Here, Wang Hao had to complain. With the increase in manufacturing patterns and the shortage of building resources, the price of building resources on the market changes every day. Yesterday, 50 milliliters of water was exchanged for 15 units of wood and 12 units of stone. In less than a day, the wood and stone traded decreased by 3 units and 2 units respectively. This further strengthened his determination to continue to grab resources. There was a shortage of 47 units of copper ingots, so he calculated it as 50 and placed another order. Item for sale, 500 milliliters of water. Item for exchange, 7 copper ingots. Transaction volume, 50. And Wang Hao's eyes swept across the resource area and stopped at the remaining pile of green grass. The fourth order was it. Whether it was for making compound fertilizer or developing the livestock industry in the future, green grass was indispensable. There were also many orders placed in the sales market, but he was too lazy to compare prices and click one by one, so it was more convenient to buy directly. Selling item, 500 milliliters of clean water. Exchange item, 280 green grass. Transaction volume, 100. Okay, let's do this for now. The current 4 transactions consumed a total of 200 L of clean water. Thanks to his strong financial resources, ordinary survivors really don't dare to be so extravagant. Wang Hao came to the water collection basin again. The iron oil barrel under the water collection basin has collected nearly 1/3 of the height of clean water, exuding a chilly and damp breath. It is estimated that there can be 50 L of clean water. This amount is not small, but compared with the big deal yesterday and today, it still seems thin. From this point of view, it is imperative to upgrade the water collection basin. Collect. Ding. Clean water plus 49,600 milliliters. Sure enough, it is about the same as I estimated. Well, it seems that I have obtained 2 upgrade talismans, so I will upgrade twice first. The earlier the upgrade, the more water will be produced. Wang Hao raised his hand to call for 2 upgrade talismans, took out one of them, and slapped it without blinking. Ding. Do you want to upgrade the current product? After confirmation, the upgrade talisman will disappear. Upgrade. No more hesitation. At the moment of making the decision, the apricot yellow talisman paper in the palm of his hand immediately turned into a stream of light, rushed into the bottom of the exquisite pagoda at the bottom of the water collection basin, and disappeared into thin air. Kakaka. The water collecting basin suddenly made a crisp sound. At the same time, it began to tremble regularly, and dazzling golden light burst out. Kaka! The towering small golden pagoda, the lotus stone basin, and the protruding silver tube expanded outward again. The floral, grass, bird and animal patterns carved on the surface of the stone basin slowly moved, extending inch by inch with the expanding main body. Wang Hao was very familiar with this scene, so he took 2 steps back and waited quietly on the side. When the golden pagoda stopped changing, Wang Hao only raised his eyes and glanced at it, then stepped forward again and slapped the second upgrade talisman on it. Ding. Do you want to upgrade the current product? After confirmation, the upgrade talisman will disappear. Upgrade. The same scene appeared before his eyes again. Wang Hao remained calm. Anyway, they were all upgrade props, so there was no need to look at them one by one and be shocked. It was enough to check the final result. After half a minute, the tremor and hum finally calmed down. At this moment, the water collection basin was already a small golden pagoda as high as 2.78 meters. The pointed spire, the staggered tower body, and the lotus basin with rippling water light. The 3 were connected together and integrated. Even if the golden light was subtle, it was still shining. How to describe it? Oh, the more I look at it, the more it looks like the 7 treasures Linglong Pagoda held by the heavenly kingly. Ignore the appearance of the water collecting basin and check its properties. Wang Hao focused his attention, and immediately a line of information appeared. Lucky water collecting basin plus 3. A super magical device that can condense the water inside and outside the castle and continuously produce clean water resources. Add the additional attribute lucky. Lucky output plus 20% plus 10%. Ding, due to the bonus of heavenly work, the water output is increased by an additional 10%. Note, the upgrade effect of the water collecting basin is plus 400%. The previous content is still the same. Only, the note at the end has changed a little. Although the change is small, the effect is amazing. The upgrade effect is increased by 400% on the original basis. That is, the water output is increased 4 times. 4 times. This value is already exaggerated enough. The initial water output of the water basin is about 2-3 liters. With the addition of luck and heavenly creations, its water output is estimated to increase to 2.64 L. Now, if it is increased by another 4 times, that is, 17 or 18 liters. Very, very gratifying. If the upgrade continues at this rate, the water source problem of Falong Town will be solved. This is not a simple 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. It is a doubling. It is similar to the second power of a mathematical formula. This strengthening effect will become more and more obvious as the number of upgrades increases. Upgrade Talisman. Upgrade Talisman. I want to upgrade to Talisman. Wang Hao immediately switched to the trading interface and entered the 3 words Upgrade Talisman in the search bar. Click OK. In an instant, the full list of goods was emptied in front of him. Chapter 490 more impressive than before. To be precise, there is only one order left. The Upgrade Talisman is quite rare. Even if it appears in the market, it is very popular. Selling item, Upgrade Talisman 1. Exchange item, Fish Dragon Bloodline Essence 1. Transaction volume, 1. Note, can be exchanged for any high-level bloodline essence or excellent pattern. Heh. The asking price is quite high. Wang Hao spread his hands, indicating that he was powerless. It is normal to think about it. Whether it is an upgrade talisman or other rare items, everyone is reluctant to sell them. What's more, Wang Hao does not have the things that the guy from the outside world needs. So naturally he can't take them out. Never mind. Let's go outside for a walk. While there are few people outside, it's a good time to upgrade the teleportation castle and copy the perspective map. Wang Hao quickly washed up and drank 100 milliliters of warm water before walking briskly out of the castle. The door bar spirit moved its body very attentively, and the bench monster inserted 2 stool legs and opened the iron door. Now the 2 monsters are very familiar with this set of procedures. They didn't forget to greet enthusiastically. Master. Good morning. Good morning. Wang Hao nodded. Now his daily life has gradually entered the right track. Not only is he well fed and well clothed, but he also has bodyguards to protect him, doormen to greet him, and a group of subordinates to dispatch. If it was half a month ago, I would not even dare to think about it. When Falong Town is truly built, and the electricity and water sources are clearly understood, this free and comfortable underground city will be in shape. By then, I don't have to leave the town unless it is necessary, and I can be a happy rich man. As soon as Wang Hao walked out of the castle, the headless ghost who was playing with a ball near the chicken farm immediately ran over, greeted him, and followed him. He also solemnly put his head back on his neck, held his head high, and looked like he was accompanying him for protection. While walking quickly, he whispered to the town about the big and small things that happened during this period. Wang Hao was satisfied with such a keen eye. Now, there are door bar spirits, bench monsters, tree spirits and soul crows guarding the gates, headless ghosts responsible for the care of flower fields and farmland, and snake pet stones for close protection. Even the doors and windows on the second floor have puppet guards standing guard, so there is basically no need to worry about safety. Master, in the flower field, last time, a total of 8 musk grass, 18 whiteheads, and 40 hemostatic grass were harvested. The second round of planting is also in place. According to your instructions, I planted 10 second-generation hemostatic grass seeds, 20 honeysuckle seeds, and 10 lichen seeds. In the farmland, last time, a total of 48 kilograms of flour, 40 units of straw feed, and 256 second-generation wheat seeds were harvested. The preliminary preparations for the next round of planting are also basically in place, and the 10 units of compound fertilizer produced can be spread at any time. Just waiting for the master's order. I temporarily locked the 2 mountain goats in a large iron cage and fed them a large stone. The stone was found outside. It was natural and unprocessed, and they ate it happily. The 2 white rabbits were also fed with green grass. The female rabbit seemed to be about to give birth. Her belly was swollen, and she didn't like to move. Over at the chicken farm, there are 7 plump chickens, which makes me envious. At this point, Wu Tugui swallowed his saliva subconsciously, and his stomach rumbled softly. It can be heard that he is greedy, with a small housekeeper to take care of the chores. Wang Hao is still quite worry-free. In terms of treatment, of course, he can't treat them badly. Don't worry. When the chickens and sheep are ready, you will definitely get a share. Thank you, Master. Seeing that the master had arrived in front of the castle, the headless ghost hurried forward and pushed the iron door wider. 1 floor. In the corner, there were 2 empty iron cages. The big iron cage that the headless ghost mentioned was taken from here, which was considered to be the best use of it, because Huang Dania had to guard the gold mine and Wang Dalong was patrolling outside. There was no one in the castle at this time. It's good that no one is here. This time, the upgrade teleportation castle may make a lot of noise. Wang Hao left the castle and first put his left palm against the nearest wall, letting the ring touch the wall. Headless, you also step back. Don't get too close to the wall and the iron door. Hey! The headless ghost immediately ran away 5 or 6 meters. Perhaps he felt that he had acted too cowardly, so he quickly took off his head and rolled forward a few times close to the ground, coming to a position 2 meters away. In this way, he can attack or defend. Wang Hao ignored these and directly conveyed the order. Merge the castles. With the order, a group of green smoke gushed out of the dragon's mouth of the teleportation ring and quickly flew towards the city wall in front. In the swirling smoke, for many castles could be vaguely seen, flying out one after another in a row. Puff! The first mini castle, touching the cold outer wall, directly broke into several pieces like a fragile bubble. Then, it penetrated from the cracks in the bricks. Then, the second one, the third one, the fourth one. Boom, 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 boom. A series of muffled sounds came from inside the castle. With his left hand pressed on the wall, he could clearly feel the tingling vibration, and his body was pushed by a gentle force, slowly retreating outward. 1/2 meter, 1 meter, 1.5 meters. Not long after, Wang Hao moved to the vicinity of the headless ghost head, and did not stop. Whoosh! The head on the ground watching the fun bounced, and rolled to a farther position like a frightened hare. There were more than 2 people retreating. The goblin shops built next to them, including the closed area's transmission channels connected to them, were also moving outward. But the distance of movement was not obvious. What's going on? Earthquake? Jian Lai. Jian Chu. You 2 lazy guys don't dare to get up quickly. With a commotion, Buduo and 2 goblin guards ran out of the shops in dishevel and looked in this direction. When they saw that the source of the earthquake was the teleportation castle that was constantly expanding outward, they were so surprised that their jaws protruded. In addition to the goblins, most of the stone houses castles near the market town opened their doors one after another, and heads popped out one by one, looking at the castle in the same surprise. Even Wang Dalong, who was patrolling in another space, rushed over here with his follower Ding Chong. This time, the movement was indeed quite big. Wang Hao glanced at the panel, and there were prompt messages moving up one after another. Ding! The teleportation castle was merged successfully, and the current progress was April 12th. Current progress was May 12th. Current progress was June 12th. Current progress was July 12th. Each message paused slightly. It was not done in one go. When the 4th message appeared, the expansion and upgrade of the teleportation castle also came to an end. Compared with the previous one, the appearance did not change. As for the size, it expanded by nearly half, which has significantly exceeded the intermediate castle owned by the survivors. Seeing that the noise stopped, Wang Dalong stepped forward and stood on the right side of Wang Hao. Brother Hao, what is this? Upgrading our meeting hall. How is it? More impressive than before? Really impressive. Wang Dalong's eyes lit up, and he praised repeatedly. In his excitement, he did not forget to look back at Ding Chong behind him, and asked in a low voice, Brother Hao, are we still going to open our milk cow pass? Of course. Wang Hao responded without thinking. After that, he glanced at the 2 figures in the distance, and nodded to Wang Dalong. That's right. Let them come over to visit. Chapter 491 Goblin Nepotism. In a remote corner of the market town, 2 intermediate castles are close together. But the iron gates are in completely opposite directions. They are like two abandoned orphans, living in a strange environment. They are both dependent and wary. The huge noise in the distance obviously disturbed the owner inside. With two door noises, Zheng Wei and Wu Xiao came out and gathered together again, shocked and watching. After a while, Zheng Wei finally spoke first. Wu Xiao, is this the upgrade of the teleportation castle? It should be. I just don't understand. Why do good teleportation rings need to be merged and upgraded? Wearing them on the body and using them in turn is not better than one ring. Even if the merged teleportation castle is bigger. Can it be taken with you? Zheng Wei was quite resentful about this. Once upon a time, he had two teleportation rings, which could be merged and upgraded. However, he gave up upgrading both rings for the convenience of using skills. Unexpectedly, the rings were not saved after all. Now, his heart is still hurting. When he told Wu Xiao, there was actually a lot of complaints. And there was even more resentment in his heart that was difficult to relieve. Yeah, I don't understand it either. Wu Xiao shook his head, his eyes still staring at the distance. Upgrading such an immovable castle is equivalent to giving up the possibility of running around in the future. Such a large family business is left here, and it will eventually be taken advantage of by outsiders. Right? Or, let's ask around. Maybe the upgraded ring has other magical uses. How do you think he will tell me? What if? Even if he tells me, what's the point? Can you still snatch it from him? Or can you go back in time and return to the time before you heard the dragon's call? Wu Xiao was also depressed. In fact, he still had many secrets. He knew some secrets of the teleportation ring, and also had some inside information that other survivors didn't know. However, what can he do? In the end, he still lost the teleportation ring given by that person. Get out of here. Reluctant, he really didn't reconcile. Wu Xiao, how about we stay here first, and when Wang Hao goes out for something, we find a chance to snatch the ring back? Zheng Wei quickly glanced around and lowered his voice. Unexpectedly, Wu Xiao immediately turned aside and avoided Zheng Wei's mouth. Don't trick me. Don't you see? There are more than one or two battle pets and puppets coming in and out of that high-level castle. You will definitely not be able to take advantage if you want to fight in a group. Also, can you deal with that blue dragon? These two sentences contain anger. As for the reason for his anger, it is related to his own personal experience. At the beginning, it was because of his overconfidence that he provoked a survivor who seemed ordinary on the surface, causing his girlfriend Xiaoling to die. Therefore, unless it is absolutely necessary, he will never provoke anyone. Now someone is trying to make him fight against the powerful Wang Hao. Isn't that courting death? 10 of the master who can control a blue dragon are no match for him. Zheng Wei, don't say what you said just now. Otherwise, we will go our separate ways. Hey, what's the big deal? Zheng Wei was speechless. I didn't expect that a grown man would be so cowardly and turn pale because of his words. This doesn't look like a leader who dares to occupy the prison with a group of people and go against him. Zheng Wei was about to persuade him again, but he saw Wang Daolong walking towards him quickly from the corner of his eye. He immediately chose to shut up and deliberately straightened his back. Wu Xiao also noticed it. In order to avoid suspicion, he moved 2 steps to the side. Soon, Wang Daolong approached. Director Zheng, Brother Wu, Brother Hao wants to invite you to visit the new meeting hall. Are you interested? Oh! After the visit, Brother Hao is planning to open the cow level, and he also wants you to be a witness. The time is set at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. If possible, let us know in advance. Wang Daolong likes to be straightforward. After delivering the message, he turned around and returned without leaving any explanation. Zheng Wei, Wu Xiao. The two were a little confused, staring blankly at the back of the figure going away, not knowing whether to call each other to stop. They didn't come back to their senses until the back disappeared. Zheng Wei and Wu Xiao looked at each other. Should we go? Yes. Why not? Don't forget that we still have to talk about business. The ring can't be lost in vain. And the cow level. I am also very interested. Okay. Wu Xiao nodded. In the cave world, time is a luxurious and useless concept. Except for the refresh of the number of excavations and the update of the goods in the mall. It is simply useless. Even the panel is not even bothered to display it. The popular timekeeping now is all checked out bit by some survivors using props such as alarm clocks they picked up. The original intention is just to prove how long they have lived. The two also have timekeeping props. Why was the time set at 8 o'clock? They had a moment of confusion. Perhaps it was related to the cow level? Perhaps it was to familiarize themselves with the meeting hall in advance? Perhaps it was a lucky number? The two of them must not have thought that the time was set at 8 o'clock just because someone maintained a good work and rest habit and had to go back to catch up on a good sleep. In the goblin shop, the boss Buduo yawned, sat behind the container, and ordered the guard Jian Lai to pour 2 cups of tea. 1 cup was for himself. The other cup was for the distinguished guest. After Jian Lai served the tea, he stood up the tray in his hand and returned to Buduo's back, ensuring that he would be there as soon as he was called. There is no other way. In the early days of starting a business, as a small family, every penny has to be spent carefully. The 2 goblins brought here are to serve as guards to protect the shop and to do odd jobs. As a steward elder of the goblin race, it is impossible for him to run around alone. Seeing that the tea has been poured, Buduo stretched out his hand and made a please enjoy gesture. Boss Wang, the noise you just made was really scary. At this moment, he was really scared. Less than a day after coming here, he encountered 2 waves of turmoil in succession. No, if you count the small beast tide that just appeared, it would be 3 waves. It was really terrifying. I thought it was a good job to come to Filong Town, but I was always worried. Hearing the elder sigh, Jian Lai nodded in agreement. Goblin guards are not good at fighting. He and Jian Chu are definitely not the bravest among the guards. They were able to come here because the leader Jian Lan secretly took care of them and told them that Wang Hao, the mayor of Filong Town, was a great man. It was the safest job to be stationed here. Unexpectedly, Jian Lai's heart has never been calm. What? Why did the leader Jian Lan take care of him? That's because he, Jian Lai, and Jian Chu are brothers, and Jian Lan is Jian Lan's brother-in-law. Nepotism. Understand? The world is big, but my brother-in-law is the biggest. Oh, I'm thinking too far. Let's just listen to what he says. Jian Lai drove away the complicated emotions in his mind and looked up at the distinguished guest who came in. The mayor Wang Hao. Opposite, Wang Hao naturally understood the rather resentful look of the 2 goblins. He picked up the tea on the table with his right hand, took a sip, and couldn't help but praise. Good tea. Chapter 492. You really know what you are talking about. Tea. Really good tea. In the porcelain white teacup, a long, stretched tea leaf floats in the slightly yellow tea, gently rotating along the edge. Moreover, the hot air rises, gathering but not dispersing. At the first sip, a light and fragrant fragrance instantly seeps into the lips and teeth, lingering for a long time. When it slides into the throat, the fragrant breath also goes down, flowing into the belly along the chest. Warm, endless aftertaste. Some of it is not enough. Wang Hao couldn't help but take another sip, and then reluctantly put down the teacup. Opposite, hearing the brief evaluation of good tea, Buduo immediately smiled. It must be good tea. I took great pains to get this from the pandas before I came to the cave world. The quantity is not much. He usually doesn't want to drink it, unless there are very important guests at home. Then, he will carefully count out 7 or 8 pieces to entertain. Obviously, the mayor Wang Hao is such a guest. Boss Wang, you really know what's good. Buduo gave a thumbs up. Then, he also picked up the teacup in front of him, closed his eyes, took a sip, swam it in his mouth, and then slowly swallowed it. His face was full of satisfaction. With the warming tea, the scene became much more harmonious. The worry and shock just now were also diluted and dissipated with the tea. When Buduo opened his eyes again, Wang Hao coughed lightly and told the purpose of his trip without hiding anything. Boss Bu, I have a batch of miscellaneous items that I can't use for the time being. I want you to take a look at them. At the same time, I want to exchange them for something useful to Filong Town. Oh, take them out and let me see. Buduo rubbed his hands expectantly, sat up straight immediately, and leaned forward. What Mayor Wang could take out must not be ordinary stuff. Back then, it was from him that the Wanderer Buden got the iron fire gun and a dagger with a prefix. He still remembers the name of the dagger. Seagull's dagger. Yes, it's Seagull's dagger. Later, when Buden met the chief, he was the one who introduced him. What is it this time? Wang Hao didn't waste any words and directly took out Seagull's shield. In terms of the value and practicality of the item, It is definitely not the best among his many collections, but it is enough to serve as a starting point. Clang! The heavy shield fell lightly on the container, making a dull sound. Take a look at the shield first. Wang Hao picked up the teacup beside him and continued to sip slowly. Through this item, we can understand Buduoduo's style of doing things and whether he is evil or not. Then, we can decide whether to take other things. This is... Buduoduo's eyes lit up, and he immediately jumped onto the wide stool, almost lifting his body to the container. Then, he put his head close to the shield and looked at it carefully. A minute passed. This is another prefix equipment. I collected this sword before. Not bad. Really good. Look at the texture. Look at the workmanship. Wow! Buduoduo raised his head reluctantly and stroked the convex surface of the shield with 4 fingers of his right hand, unusually softly, as if caressing the smooth back of his beloved lover. It's a pity that Budian didn't make it. This sounded a little sad. Wang Hao didn't dwell on it and changed the topic in time to avoid turning it into a memorial meeting for the deceased. Boss Bu, how do the goblins plan to collect this shield? Pointing out the goblin tribe is to show the other party that the previous promise is still valid. At the same time, I hope Buduoduo will remember that he has dealt with them. To be frank, that is, don't lie to me. Boss Wang, do you want silver coins? Or crop seeds? Other props. Patterns are also fine. Buduoduo returned to normal and changed to the tone of a mercenary businessman. Upgrade talismans. Do you have them in stock? Upgrade talismans? Of course. Then change to this. Wang Hao decided at once. Silver coins and crop seeds are not so urgent at the moment. So let's solve the water problem first. This shield is definitely not enough to exchange for the upgrade talisman. It would be okay if I had another one. Buduoduo looked businesslike, but a sly look flashed in the corner of his eyes. Goblins are the most business-savvy race. How can they lose their keen business sense because of personal feelings? Okay, I agree. Wang Hao agreed immediately. Overall, the offer is a bit low. However, before Buduoduo's eyebrows twitched, he added another sentence. The dagger that Budian took away last time should also be counted as one item. This is what we agreed at the time. Well, for the upgrade talismans, bring 4 or 5 first. 4 or 5. Don't be kidding. Buduoduo suddenly raised his voice and almost jumped directly onto the container. I don't have so many. I only brought 2 this time. And I found them in the main warehouse. There are only 2 in total. To be honest, Wang Hao was a little disappointed. I had hoped to buy all of them at the goblin shop at once. 2. Just 2. Wang Hao picked out Giant Wood's black broadsword and lifeless silver table knife from his ring, put them together on the shelf, and pushed them over. These lower-level items have been kept at the bottom of the box and have basically never been used. He felt it was a good deal to exchange them for 2 upgrade charms. If there were more upgrade charms, he would definitely not be able to exchange them. In addition, this show of weakness was also to make Buduoduo spend more time collecting at the same time. It made him believe that he was a sucker and was very easy to be deceived. When the store has enough in the future, we can bargain unexpectedly and make up for the loss of concessions now. Wang Hao was straightforward, and Buduoduo was also straightforward. The buyer and seller successfully completed the first transaction. The 2 upgrade charms were put into Wang Hao's ring. Next, Wang Hao took out Garen's saber and placed it on the cabinet in front of him. Then, he picked up the teacup and drank slowly. Seeing that there was not much tea in the cup, Wang Hao waved to Jin Lai, signaling him to fill it up for him. Half an hour later, the outer door of the store opened. Wang Hao and Buduoduo walked out side by side. Both of them looked happy and satisfied. Everyone was so happy because the transaction went smoothly. After some bargaining, the Garen saber was finally exchanged for 1,200 copper coins. This made Buduoduo believe that someone had a large number of prefix props and was extremely enthusiastic. The remaining items for the transaction were a bunch of junk with even lower use. For example, the poisoned Dinghai needle, zombie record, Kinjiangzi travel notes, the fast long sword, the damaged lucky charm, the poisoned slingshot. These props that were reluctant to be decomposed and had no practical value were packed up at once and exchanged for 100 units of copper ingots and a Simmons manufacturing map. After coming out of the goblin shop, Wang Hao returned to the advanced castle to continue to catch up on his sleep. 7:30. After sleeping for 6 hours, Wang Hao appeared outside the teleportation castle in high spirits. There, Wang Daolong took Zheng Wei and Wu Zhao and waited quietly. Chapter 493. What kind of distinguished guests are these? Wang Hao walked over. Everyone came early. So, let's go in and take a look first. Okay, Brother Hao. Wang Daolong stepped forward and pushed the heavy iron door wider to make it easier for 4 people to enter at the same time. In fact, in the early hours of the morning, he, Wang Hao, and Wang Danyu and others who arrived later had entered the teleportation castle together. And they also knew the changes that had taken place inside the castle. Now it's more formal to take care of the feelings of the 2 distinguished guests. Whether they are distinguished guests or not, the town is still not sure. At least they haven't won everyone's trust yet. As soon as I entered the castle, I saw, on the spacious and empty first floor, there are 4 brand new square wooden tables. Next to each table, there are 4 equally brand new round wooden stools. These were made by Ningke, who was arranged by Wang Daolong. Ningke had obtained the table and stool manufacturing diagram, so it was no problem for him to make some meeting items to decorate the facade. In addition, in the far corner, there are 2 huge iron cages that look very solid. They have been placed there, and no one has moved them. Wang Daolong's eyes met with Wang Hao for a moment, and seeing that he didn't have any special expression, he explained according to the original plan. Director Zheng, Brother Wu, this is the meeting hall we set up. It's a little shabby now. In the future, we will definitely add a large amount of furniture and decorations. Any large-scale meetings or celebrations in the future will be held here. Actually, there is nothing to see here. A huge building space. Nothing special except that it is bigger. Zheng Wei and Wu Zhao, their expressions remain unchanged. Wang Daolong made a pleased gesture and led everyone to the stairs on the right. The group quickly walked up to the 2nd floor. Compared with the empty first floor, the 2nd floor seemed much more crowded, because a long corridor with neatly arranged guest rooms appeared in front of them, spacious and bright. The wooden doors of the guest rooms were brand new, but there was no smell of paint or varnish. The evenly applied dark red background showed solemnity and calmness. This is not just 1 or 2 rooms. There are more than 20 rooms on both sides of the corridor in front of us. We will temporarily use this as a guest lounge. If you need it, you can apply to stay here. Wang Daolong slightly turned sideways, pointed to a horizontal corridor in the distance, and continued to explain. The corridor over there will be blocked by a brick wall in the future to ensure quietness. We will select some rooms as office space for Filong town managers to achieve real separation of residence and business without interference. It is really difficult for a gangster who ventures into the downtown to remember so much information. He recited it for a long time before he could barely remember it. Wang Hao nodded with satisfaction and gave him an encouraging gesture. Among the people under his command, Wang Danyu is calm and quiet, so he is not suitable to be a commentator. Guan Yong and Li Yi are taking turns to go out for exploration, so Wang Daolong can only give it a try. Facts have proved that the effect is good. Now the town is in need of people, and 1 or 2 independent helpers must be trained. If you do everything yourself, you will be exhausted to death. Besides, after listening to this explanation, Zheng Wei and Wu Zhao were shocked. Did you build all this? No, it doesn't look like. The teleportation castle was upgraded 6 hours ago, and they saw it with their own eyes. Afterwards, people were seen coming in and out. Therefore, they subconsciously thought that these neat guest rooms were built at that time. But they didn't expect that so many could be built. At present, construction resources are very tight, so they don't feel bad at all? At this time, Wang Hao slowly spoke. Yes, these are not built later. They are one of the benefits brought by the ring merger and upgrade. He spoke frankly about the truth. Wang Hao did not intend to hide it. And then, he roughly described the process of accidentally obtaining 4 teleportation rings. It also includes the process of collecting the castle. Whether it is Zheng Wei or Wu Zhao, they are all very smart people. Sooner or later, they will guess or discover the truth of the matter. Hiding it will only increase resentment. Show your sincerity. Whether you can cooperate in the future depends on how the other party chooses. Cooperation. Welcome. Rejection. Farewell. There is really no need to spend energy on internal friction. Since we want to develop the market town, we must accommodate different voices. Director Zheng. Old Wu. I hope you will seriously consider it. It is really tiring and hard to fight alone. The door of Phylong Market Town is always open to you. After listening to this story, Zheng Wei and Wu Xiao were silent. They could vaguely guess the other party's intention. But, am I really willing to give up? Wang Hao did not urge the two to reply. While walking along the corridor to visit, he discussed with Wang Daolong about the matter of continuing to introduce personnel. No taboo. There is no need to be taboo. This will make them feel that they are all one. When the four of them walked to the left staircase, Zheng Wei finally made a decision. Wang Hao, I want to stay and observe. Do you mind? If you decide to stay, the 2 teleportation rings will be my proof of joining the group. If I want to leave, Wang Hao immediately said, I will definitely not stop you. And I will give it to you according to the price we agreed on before. After dealing with one of them, he looked at Wu Xiao on the side. Wu Xiao gritted his teeth and made a similar choice. I am the same as him. Okay. It's great. Wang Hao laughed out loud. From what the two said, they had actually agreed. But they just couldn't save face for the time being. As long as time goes by, the two will definitely accept Phylong Town. After making the choice, the atmosphere between the 4 people became harmonious, and they walked down the stairs talking and laughing. Next, it was time to open the cow level. Just as the 4 people walked out of the iron gate and prepared to walk to the open space on the right, Wang Hao suddenly felt a burst of rapid burning from the middle finger of his left hand. Director Zheng. Old Wu. Everyone wait a moment. There is another distinguished guest coming soon. After saying that, Wang Hao stopped and looked in the direction of the burning sensation. Distinguished guest? What kind of distinguished guest? Zheng Wei and Wu Xiao were stunned and followed Wang Hao's line of sight. Unfortunately, they saw nothing. Not long after, a faint noise of voices came from the upper level separated by a space. Then, hurried footsteps sounded. Bang, bang, bang. Wang Dania rushed over there quickly and finally stopped in front of the 4 people. He took a step forward, facing Wang Hao and Wang Daolong, and reported in a hurry. Brother Hao. 2 people came upstairs. One of them I know. It's Qin Yujiang, the leader of the Nyochi Chongtian League. They keep saying they want to see you. Qin Yujiang? Are you sure it's him? This person was beyond Wang Hao's expectation. Yes. Then let them come. Okay. I'll go now. Wang Dania ran away quickly. Chapter 494. Qin Yujiang covered his right hand. After 7 or 8 minutes, 3 figures appeared at the entrance of the passage and walked towards this side. The one leading the way was naturally Wang Dania. The 2 behind followed closely side by side. The one on the left was Qin Yujiang. The one on the right. Is it Chen Han? Wang Hao narrowed his eyes. If he remembered correctly, Chen Han was Qin Yujiang's right-hand man and think tank. Many things of the Nyochi Chongtian League were discussed by the 2 of them. What are they doing here? Could it be? Wang Hao thought of a possibility and immediately called up the system panel and sent a message to Wang Daolong. Daolong, be careful and be ready to call for help. After sending this message, he focused his attention and looked in the direction where Qin Yujiang and the others were walking. In the light green ripples, there was only a piece of yellow earth. Just the 2 of them? Or do they have other backup plans? While thinking in his heart, Wang Daniu had brought Qin Yujiang and the others closer. Brother Wang, is this your Phylong Town? It is true that hearing about it is worse than meeting in person. Qin Yujiang smiled familiarly and stretched out his right hand. Obviously, he was going to shake hands. It was this action. And before Wang Hao could respond, a dazzling green light suddenly appeared at the middle finger of his left hand and expanded rapidly outward. Then, a coiled green dragon suddenly appeared in the air, raised its ferocious head, and let out a long dragon roar. Wang Hao, what's going on? I didn't issue a summoning command. So does it count as coming uninvited? What made him even more speechless? In the dragon roar, he could actually hear obvious emotional fluctuations, and anyone could understand it. That was excitement. Excitement that was not concealed. It was as if he had met a long-lost relative in a foreign land, or as if he had just picked up a wallet that he accidentally left behind. It was this dragon roar that made Zheng Wei and Wu Xiao, who were originally planning to join in the fun and say hello, change their expressions at the same time. As if they had made an appointment, the 2 instinctively stepped back, away from Wang Hao standing beside them, and looked at Qin Yujiang in front of them with a very sympathetic expression. Wang Hao also understood. Qinglong was not summoned this time for the last exposed teleportation ring. So far, it has swallowed 10 rings, and it only needs the last one to complete its merit. Obviously, this last teleportation ring is in Qin Youjiang's hand. Senior Qinglong? Wait a minute. Wang Hao hurriedly communicated with Qinglong, wanting it to slow down and not be so unprepossessing. What can't be said in a good way? Even if he has to swallow the last ring, at least he has to let him try to conquer people with virtue. Maybe Alliance leader Qin is willing to give up. Wait. Can't wait. Qinglong didn't listen to him. He flicked his tail and appeared in front of Qin Yujiang. He opened his mouth and sucked. Huh? A strong gust of wind swept up in a small area, grabbed Qin Yujiang's right arm, and pulled it towards him. At the same time, on Qin Yujiang's right index finger, the teleportation ring that he had hidden suddenly became extremely hot. The next moment, it melted and fell off. The ring turned into a pile of white powder in an instant, floating down. Qin Yujiang looked down quickly. No. My ring. Give me back my ring. Mine. That's mine. Hearing this desperate roar, Zheng Wei and Wu Xiao's painful memories were instantly pulled back, and their mouths twitched constantly. As a bystander, they found that this was indeed not Wang Hao's instigation or mischief. The excited Qinglong in the air ran out completely on its own and destroyed all the teleportation rings wantonly. No, not destroying. It was devouring. At this moment, if anyone could understand Qin Youjiang's pain, the two of them must be one of them. Even, they responded with deep sympathy. What a waste. The four of them came here one after another. No matter what purpose or intention, they eventually became treasure boys and fulfilled the owner of this place. International friends are not so dedicated. In a mid-level castle in the distance, Lin Xiaoxiao was pulling Wang Xiuzui to try on her cheerleading skirt. If this one didn't work, she would change to another one. Her original intention was very simple. Dress up this new companion beautifully, and then let someone see that the airport is actually a common phenomenon. The legendary extremely evil women are all carefully packaged in short videos or props. In reality, they don't exist at all. Hearing the dragon roar outside, she immediately threw away the black socks she had just turned over, moved the 2 mousetraps and homemade thumbtacks on the ground, and then pulled open the homemade curtains on the wall and looked out through the window hole. Wang Xiaozui also came over. Outside, 7 people gathered in front of the teleportation castle, and a familiar green dragon floated in the air. Then, the 2 women saw. Qin Yujiang covered his right hand. The heart-wrenching roar reached their ears from afar, making them feel strangely familiar. This is... Lin Xiaoxiao and Wang Xiuzui were slightly startled, then turned their heads and exchanged a questioning look. Then, they nodded in tacit understanding. In the hearts of the 2 women, they have already got the answer, and there is no need to speak it out. Silence is better than words here. At the same time, an extremely funny idea emerged in their minds. In the past 2 days, what kind of evil wind is at work? Why do people keep delivering teleportation rings to their door? This question, Wang Hao didn't know the answer either. Before the teleportation castle, the azure dragon swallowed the last ring and immediately spiraled up until it hit the cave ceiling. Perhaps, it felt it was in the way. The ferocious dragon head rose up, biting and swallowing the lust on the cave ceiling. Every time it moved its mouth, a large piece of lust disappeared. After 7 or 8 times, with a rumbling sound, the solid lust cave ceiling was bitten through by the azure dragon, revealing the space on the upper level. The lust fell down. Wang Hao and others standing below all recovered from their shock and rushed into the castle in a hurry to avoid being hit by the overturned lust. The lust was indeed overturning. The azure dragon shook its head with an unsatisfied look, and pounced upwards, continuing to bite the lust with its enlarged dragon mouth, violently ramming with its solid dragon body, and scratching with its sharp 2 pairs of dragon claws, rapidly expanding the hole that had been penetrated, until the huge dragon body could easily pass through. After doing all this, the azure dragon returned with a whoosh. This time, it did not directly plunge into the teleportation ring, but floated in the sky above the castle, stretching its body comfortably, and at the same time conveyed a message to Wang Hao. The content of the message was not complicated, urging him to take back the other subsidiary castles as soon as possible and complete the advancement of the teleportation castle below. Even if the azure dragon did not say it, he would do so. After receiving the response, the Azure Dragon's real shadow lowered its head gratefully several times, and glanced at Qin Yujiang with a playful look, and then turned into a stream of green light and drilled back into the teleportation ring. The shock was finally settled. Chapter 495 Cow Pass opens. After a while, outside the castle, the dust settled. The survivors living in the market town seemed to be numb to the repeated noises here. They just asked a few words through the system chat and stopped talking. Compared with the last time, the noise this time was actually very small. The time when Qinglong appeared was actually very short. So short that it was negligible. Wang Hao did not walk out of the castle, but stood in the iron gate, looking at Qin Yujiang, who came from afar with an apologetic look. That Alliance leader Qin. What happened just now was not intentional. You can ask Director Zeng and the others about this. To be honest, Wang Hao felt sorry. But he also felt lucky. Thanks to Qinglong's real shadow's initiative. If it hadn't happened, it would have taken a lot of effort to collect all the remaining teleportation rings. Sometimes, money can't solve the problem. Zheng Wei, Wu Xiao, and Qin Yujiang are not the ones who lack money resources. Even if the chips he offered are high enough, they may not be moved. Qinglong's action actually saved him a lot of trouble. Yes, well, we can testify to this. Zheng Wei smiled bitterly, giving Wang Hao this face. What kind of thing is this? He obviously lost his wife, and now he has to help Wang Hao, who benefited, to testify. It's really speechless to think about it. Wu Xiao also responded with a bitter smile. Like you, I also had one ring taken away by it. Director Zeng was much worse off than us, having 2 rings taken away. It's all over. What else can we do? Can they still force the Azure Dragon reality to spit out its ring? Not to mention that the process is irreversible. Even if it can be achieved, they can't beat the Azure Dragon ring spirit with a strange origin and independent consciousness. Snatch the ring? It can't be snatched away. Here, even if the 3 of them suddenly attack at the same time, they can't beat Wang Hao. It's better to submit. There's an old saying, if you can't struggle and resist, just lie down and enjoy it. The 2 people's depression and helplessness were all shown on their faces. How could Qin Yujiang not see it? He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Chen Han, who was standing beside him, was a little anxious. Wang Hao, I'll still call you Brother Hao. You can't just say I didn't mean it and send us off to the Chontian League. Right? No matter what. You are the one who was at fault for this incident. He had to say what the leader was not convenient to say, because the teleportation ring was also an asset of the Chontian League. Naturally, he had a share of it. You can't just let it go like this. Qin Yujiang felt aggrieved. And so did Chen Han. He spent 2 days and took the trouble to come here. Was it just to promote the spirit of selfless friendship and dedication? Life can't be so cheap. As one of the parties involved, Wang Hao, who was secretly glad, behaved very reasonably at this moment. Alliance Master Qin. Things have come to this point. I can only invite Chontian League to enter Filong Town. Here, everyone can divide the work and cooperate, and can also jointly resist possible risks. Preliminary statement. This is not a merger. Nyochi Chontian League still has an independent and autonomous status. The town will not interfere. In the future, if you have new plans or bases, you can leave the town at any time. The town will not stop you for any reason. In addition, like Director Zeng, Lao Wu and others, I am willing to help Alliance Master Qin make a water collection basin or give a unit of gold ingot. In the future, the town will also allocate some farmland as compensation to Chontian League. Wang Hao said this very fluently. In just one day, he repeated it at least 3 times. How could he not say it fluently? At the end, he spread his hands helplessly. As he said, it has come to this point. What else can he do? Qin Yujiang was silent for a minute, then looked at Chen Han beside him apologetically, and then turned to Wang Hao. He forced a smile. Brother Wang, do I have any choice? As for the final result, I still need to inform the brothers in the alliance. Do you mind if we stay here for the next 2 days? No. Of course I don't mind. Things went smoothly, and Wang Hao was overjoyed. This is a win-win situation. Since we have a common goal, let's go visit the new project of Filong Town together. Wang Daolong and Huang Dainyu on the side were also excited about this scene. At the same time, they admired Brother Hao very much. Of course, They knew what the new project Brother Hao was talking about was. Without being told, Wang Daolong waved his arms vigorously towards a castle in the distance. Ding Chong. Hurry up and come out. A response suddenly sounded in the primary castle. Hey, I'm coming. Tap. 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 Accompanied by a burst of sprinting. A tall and strong young man happily ran over. And the moment he stopped, he turned his wrist and took out the book of talent teleportation that he had prepared long ago. Handed directly to Wang Hao. Wang Hao took it. Ding Chong. Once this teleportation book is used, it will be gone. Finally, I have to ask one more question. Are you sure you want to give it to me? Some ugly words must be said in advance. Of course, there is no lack of show in front of Qin Yujiang and others, proving that he is not a person who only cares about himself. Well, I've thought about it. Brother Hao, I'll listen to you. Ding Chong nodded heavily, his expression resolute and firm. Well, let's start now. The location for setting up the teleportation gate has long been selected. It is on the right side of the teleportation castle, opposite to another goblin passage, so that trading and adventure can be done without delay. The general layout of Falong Town still follows the basic functional division. In addition to the business area and the adventure area, there is an agricultural and animal husbandry area in the front, and a training area in the back. Improvement and development require a process. The group walked to the right side of the teleportation castle and stopped at a designated open space nearby. Seeing Wang Hao and his group walk to the right, they walked out of their own castles or stood behind the windows and looked over here. The news of opening the cow level was not hidden from their family. There are really quite a few people who have played the dark game, even if they have not played it. Other companions have also been popularized in their minds. Because of this, everyone is full of expectations for this opening. Wang Hao took the book of talent teleportation and measured a distance of 10 meters from the wall. Stop and turn sideways. Then he took out a dark brown leg bone prop from his ring, which is the foot of wit, and put it and the book of talent teleportation in his left hand together. When they were close to 10 centimeters, a circle of strange ripples appeared in front of him out of thin air. Ding! Under the attraction of two mysterious forces, a portal to another world will open here. Whether to open the mysterious level, please give a choice. 1. Open immediately. 2. Let me think about it. Ding! After opening the level, the two props will disappear immediately. Ding! The mysterious level is only open to the opener in a team, and the upper limit is 5 people. Open now. As soon as the command came out, a strong magnetic force suddenly appeared between the two props, accelerating to get closer together. Wang Hao did not hesitate and immediately released his hands. And he stepped back. Chapter 496 Pre-selected team members. Snap! Wit's foot and talent teleport book are attracted to each other. The light sound of the touch is extremely clear and pleasant in the town space. All the people present stared at the tightly fitted leg bones and teleport book without blinking, waiting for the next change. Buzz! Dazzling white light flashed quickly in front of the eyes. Immediately afterwards, the two props in the air disappeared without a trace. A slightly tilted, dark red elliptical portal suddenly appeared in front of the eyes. At the edge of the portal, there was a circle of silver-white ripples. Wow! This scene really looks like the cow level. Anyone who has played a dark game will not be unfamiliar with the scene in front of them. Everyone looked over in a hurry. The system information about the portal immediately appeared on the right side of the field of vision. Ding! This is a portal to a different world. Warriors can team up to explore. The total number of explorations per day, 3. Note, the mysterious level is only open to the team of openers, and the upper limit is 5. Opener? Qin Yujiang, Xing Wei, Wu Zhao, and Chen Han immediately turned their eyes and looked at Wang Hao standing on the side. There was hope in their eyes. As for Wang Daolong and the other two, they had been observing the elliptical portal. They seemed to think that they could not see it clearly enough, and they walked forward one after another and circled around it. TSK. This is the cow level. It's just like the portal in the game, but I don't know what it's like inside. Ding Chong. Let's switch, and let your brother Daolong do it for the first time later. Brother Daolong? This is not right. Why don't you ask your sister-in-law and let her give you the chance? The three of them were whispering while turning in circles. It was no secret to them that they needed to form a team. The meaning of the words. The first batch of people to enter the portal had been finalized long before the cow level was opened. The more so, The more India's Qin Yujiang, and the other 4 were. I just don't know if there are really countless cow monsters in this mysterious level. Okay. The door is open. Get ready to form a team. Seeing the oval portal ready, Wang Hao immediately took action and started to form a team. The team members were selected in advance. Qin Yujiang and others were right about this. In the 5-member team, in addition to Wang Hao himself, there are Ding Cheng, Huang Daniu, Lin Xiaoxiao and Zheng Wei, because he knew that the number of places was limited and there were distinguished guests coming to the market town. Wang Daolong took the initiative to ask to adjust himself to the second batch and leave a place for Director Zheng, who suffered the most serious losses. Of course, there are prerequisites. Before deciding to activate the cow level, Wang Hao talked with several backbones in the market town and unanimously guessed a conclusion. The activated mysterious level is definitely not a one-time thing. Perhaps, like the game setting, it will continue to exist as long as certain conditions are met. If that is the case, Wang Daolong and other backbones think that it is not a bad idea to give a quota to the distinguished guest who suffered the most as a disguised compensation. Wang Hao did not object to this. Zheng Wei was surprised by the sudden invitation to form a team. He looked at Wang Hao and the other 2 strangely, waiting for a reasonable explanation. Agree. There is definitely no rush. What if he is used as a pathfinder? After all, he is not familiar with this place and is a complete outsider. Director Zheng, you have also seen that the level can be explored 3 times a day. Falong Town will never treat true friends unfairly. It is a good opportunity for you to visit and give some advice. Wang Hao told him frankly. While speaking, he did not forget to point at Huang Daniu and the other 2 people around him, indicating that this was the result of everyone's prior discussion. Others also have a chance. The others here also include Wu Xiao and others. However, before entering, there is a small request to declare that if there is any gain in it, 5% of the profit will be distributed to the props contributors in the end. It should not be too much. Right? This request is really insignificant. So, no one thinks it is too much. The contributors refer to Wang Hao and Ding Cheng. The 2 props that opened the mysterious level originally belonged to them, and it was impossible for others to use them for nothing. Let's call this 5% of the profit compensation. In fact, with Wang Hao's strong strength, it is possible to enter the dungeon alone. Pulling 3 extra people will undoubtedly dilute his own profits. It would be unreasonable if he didn't make some compensation. The town intends to continue the compensation mechanism. There must be many similar mysterious levels in the cave world. Giving up part of the exploration income will help improve the enthusiasm of contributors. Not too much. Not too much. Zheng Wei agreed. This opportunity to broaden his horizons is worth it even if he makes a wasted trip. As for why he was chosen, Zheng Wei could guess the reason. Because of this, the resentment in his heart faded a little. While agreeing, he also agreed to the invitation to form a team. Well, let's get ready to go. Wang Hao waved excitedly. Preparation? Nothing to prepare. As long as you pack up your castle base, most of your belongings can be taken with you. During the preparation process, Lin Xiaoxiao also walked out of her castle and rushed here to gather. Behind her followed Wang Xiaocui. At this time, Wang Xiaocui changed into a cheerleading blue short skirt. Looking youthful, 2 beautiful girls, wearing neat uniforms, had a great visual impact on the men present. To describe it in one word, that is, eye-catching. Lin Xiaoxiao walked to the right side of Wang Hao and apologized to everyone. Sorry. It took me a while to change clothes. It's okay. It's okay. Who dares to say that my sister-in-law is slow? It's super fast. Okay. I agree with Brother Daolong. A group of people responded. This is not nonsense. Compared with most girls who need to dress up, Lin Xiaoxiao only made everyone wait for 1 or 2 minutes, which is considered supersonic. Well, let's go. Wang Hao gave Wang Daolong a wink, and he led the 4 people to approach the oval door in front. Take a deep breath. Take the first step. Buzz. Immediately, 5 hazy red lights emerged from the oval portal, enveloping the 5 members of the team. Pulled in. This situation was rare before. The faces of the survivors who stayed near the portal suddenly became strange. What made them strange was not only what had just happened. After the 5-member team disappeared, the dark red oval portal turned gray in an instant, and even the ripples trembling on the edge solidified. It seemed to have turned into a strange stone standing at an angle. What's going on? Wang Xiaozui hurried forward. She wanted to touch the oval stone, but was stopped by Wang Dalong on the side. Don't move. If it affects Brother Hao and the others, we will be guilty. Not only that, Wang Dalong waved behind him, and Su Jiqiang and Ning Ku immediately ran over and stood beside him. Wang Dalong paused for a moment, and a hint of relief appeared on his stern face. Brother Hao just replied, "Everything is fine over there." Alliance Leader Qin. Brother Wu. The three of us plan to wait here. Brother Hao has told you that you can walk around or wait with me. After saying this, he stared at the oval strange rock in front of him, without saying a word. Chapter 497, Fighting. In a gloomy field. Everywhere there are low black grass, mottled soil, and rocks protruding from the ground. Occasionally, one or two dead trees can be seen, lonely and decayed, looking far into the distance. A series of broken walls and ruins are hidden at the end of the site. If you are not careful, you will ignore its existence. There is no doubt that this is a wilderness, and it is a wilderness surrounded by several broken walls. When the 5 people appeared in the wilderness, they took defensive actions at the first time and looked around nervously. Who can survive until now is not a veteran of hundreds of battles. The more unfamiliar the environment is, the more likely it is to contain danger. Behind them, there stood an elliptical portal that looked exactly like the outside world. The silver-white ripples kept rippling, and from time to time, a very slight crackling sound could be heard. Except for the slight sound of the portal, the surroundings were very quiet. It seemed that there was no danger for the time being. After making this judgment, Wang Hao immediately called up the system panel and sent a message back to Wang Dalong. At the same time, he also knew the changes in the portal outside. The portal turned gray? This was a strange thing. Wang Hao released his snake pet and asked it to be responsible for guarding the surroundings, while he turned around and observed the portal. Ding! This is a portal to return to the cave world. Once you pass through it, it will be considered as consuming 1 exploration time. It's really consideration. Beside, Big Nyo. Brother Hao. Here is strange to be cold. A bit like the late autumn of my hometown. Ding Chong tightened the single clothes on his body, holding the iron fire tighter with both hands. Brother Hao. Look at the atmosphere here. Like a cow field in the game? Huang Daniel said. Dairy cow field? This is the cow field? It seems that there is nothing unusual. Oh. Lin Xiaoxiao took a step in disapproval, because the ground was relatively humid. Her left foot slid forward, and her body leaned forward uncontrollably. Waist. After pulling back, pulling her to her. Let's all be careful. Wang Hao patted Lin Xiaoxiao's soft shoulders in comfort and solemnly told the others. Just at this moment, a low mooing sound suddenly came from behind a broken wall in the distance. Is this the sound of a cow? The 5 people looked over. Behind the broken wall, 2 tall sausage-like figures timidly emerged and walked towards this side tremblingly. Timid was their first impression. Sausage means that the body is evenly shaped and the thickness is the same from top to bottom. When they looked more carefully, they found that the people who walked out from the back of the broken wall were not humans, but 2 white-bellied blue cows standing up. A pair of pointed horns, a round iron ring hanging on the nose, a pair of black cow eyes. Compared to the rough Minotaur race, they look cute. In addition to their cute appearance, they also hold a long-handled machete in their front hooves on their chests. The appearance of the machete is extremely rough, as if a wide iron sheet is tied to the end of a thick wooden stick. Ha! Cow level. It is a perfect restoration. Wang Hao, Huang Daniu and Ding Chong looked at each other and nodded at the same time. They can recognize it naturally because they have played the game. Lin Xiaoxiao and Xing Wei know nothing about the game, and the strange shape of the blue cow makes them look confused. Brother, is this the mysterious level you mentioned? It doesn't seem that great. Just 2 small monsters. Lin Xiaoxiao felt a little bored. If it was really this difficult, there would be no need for a 5-person team. She could easily handle it alone. Xing Wei also looked skeptical. It shouldn't be so easy to do it outside. Could it be all this is just the beginning? Of course. It's just the beginning. The 2 blue bulls walked a distance away, stretched their heads forward, and stared with a pair of eyes, as if to confirm the situation ahead. After confirming that everything was correct, they waved their weapons together and let out a louder roar. Moo! At this moment, all directions responded. Moo! Moo! Moo moo! In the wilderness, there were cow roars everywhere. coming from all directions and converging into one place. And the sound shook the sky. The sound waves, one after another, without stopping. Moreover, the cow roars sounded far away at first, but they were much closer when they listened again, as if they were gathering towards them rapidly. Not only that, along with the sound waves that came one after another, the wet wilderness ground also trembled slightly. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The tremor became more and more urgent. The tremor became louder and louder. Even the still black grass and exposed soil began to dance and jump. It was as if thousands of troops were attacking. Damn. Did I stir up a hornet's nest? Ding Chong didn't bother to shake off his single clothes, and quickly picked up the iron fire gun and pointed the muzzle at the white-bellied green bull that appeared first. Just waiting for an order, Lin Xiaoxiao raised his hand to summon the ground rat, and held a spiked hammer with a blue glow in his right hand. The evil spirit is born. The ground rat looked around a little confused, and when he saw the gray rock snake next to him, he immediately dodged far away and trembled. Fear of snakes. As always. No wonder it was afraid. Sure too saw that there was a little friend around him, and immediately spit out the snake's tongue and approached. The corners of his mouth curved upwards, as if he was grinning. Huang Danyu and Zheng Wei's faces became solemn, and they also took out their weapons. Tension and doubt were all thrown behind. Everyone knew the next battle would be a tough one. Any negative emotions would affect one's own strength, so one had to move forward courageously. The roars of cows throughout the wilderness represented countless cow monsters. Everyone knew the principle of ant bites dead elephants. So who dared to slack off? Wang Hao was more direct. Facing the two white-bellied blue cows that were already running fast, he directly released his castle base. Boom! It was like a giant war fortress, blocking the path of the running cows. Under his intentional control, the front of the castle, that is, the side with farmland and chicken farms, faced the portal. In other words, the back of the castle is facing outward. In this way, farmland and chicken farms can be effectively protected. Everyone, let out the castle, form a corner, protect the portal, and resist the first wave of impact. Even if this place is similar to the Cow Pass, you can't take it lightly and be careless. Moreover, the first batch of people who came in are not just for tasting new things and the first kill. They also have the task of exploring the way. Personal bravery seems unimportant. How many other people in Falong Town can be as strong as Wang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao? As pathfinders, they must find a way to minimize the damage in the battle, so that those who come later can make the best response. Only a trickle of water can last a long time. Good. Good. Ah! Ding Chong and Lin Xiaoxiao were the first to wake up. The two raised their hands in tacit understanding, and released their own castles on the left and right of the advanced castle. Huang Danyu's intermediate castle was still suppressed by the Brokenwood Mountain gold mine, so of course, there was no place to put it. At this moment, he quickly threw out 8 chevaux de frise stakes, divided them into 2 places, and fenced them on both sides of the chicken farm and farmland. Then, he ran to Wang Hao's castle. Everything he had just done was in accordance with Brother Hao's instructions, and he carried it out meticulously. In this way, it can help protect the 2 structures. Chapter 498 Cow King. Golden Treasure Chest. Zheng Wei's reaction was not slow. When he saw the tacit actions of the 4 people, he immediately understood that this was a strategy they had practiced long ago. Now, the 3 castles have surrounded the portal, which can be said to be impeccable. The idea turned in his mind. Zheng Wei also summoned his own castle and blocked it on the right side of the high-level castle, further blocking the gap behind the chicken farm. This keen insight comes from years of on-site shooting experience. The defensive formation here has just been formed. In the distance of the wilderness, the shadowy shadow of the cow has been seen. The dense cow monsters, holding their long-handled machetes, swarmed out, layer upon layer, without a single gap. These tall monsters, like wild cats that smell blood, roared frantically and rushed towards the outsiders, and the castle in the middle. Fearless. Moo! Moo moo moo! In this space, the roar of the cows continued. Roughly estimated, the number of cow monsters coming from all directions is at least 200. Wang Hao's lips were tight, and he took out 2 brand new arrow towers for iron fire guns and a short bow. In a defensive battle of this scale, a revolver cannot compare to an iron fire gun with more firing times. Wait until the cow monsters rush to 20 meters away. Wang Hao waved his hand violently, and gave an order at the same time. Shoot! For a moment, arrows and iron sand burst out, and the roaring sound continued. Half an hour later, looking at the pile of cow carcasses outside the castle circle, the 5 people breathed a sigh of relief. Tired, for sure. Through the first hunt, everyone also figured out some rules. First, the portal does not need protection. During this period, several cows that escaped the net broke into the defense circle, but they seem to have not seen the portal and continued to attack Wang Daniu and others who were stationed under the castle. Even if their bodies crossed the elliptical portal, they seemed to be unable to touch it, and even the silver-white ripples on the outer edge did not change at all. In other words, there is no need to worry about the cow monster destroying the portal or escaping from the portal. Second, the real strength of the cow monster is not that high. Most of them are barely as strong as ordinary mutant monsters. But there are more of them. Occasionally, there are a few elite monsters. With such strength, any member survivor in the town can kill it without loss, as long as they are not besieged by a group. If the speed is fast enough, you can even try to move quickly and adopt the tactic of flying a kite. Third, the cow monster is too noisy. From the beginning of gathering to the end of falling to the ground, it has been mooing non-stop, endlessly. The noise made my head buzz. Maybe there are 4, 5, 6, or 7 more, but they are insignificant. Brother, how do we collect the spoils? Wang Dania turned sideways, wiped the sweat from his forehead due to nervousness, and asked Wang Hao for instructions. Under the other 3 castles, Lin Xiaoxiao, Ding Chong, and Xingwei also came out and gathered here. They also looked at Wang Hao. Wang Hao was the one who opened the cow pass and the organizer of this operation. Of course, they had to listen to his command. Invisibly, Xingwei also followed this rule. In other words, he tacitly acknowledged Wang Hao's dominant position. Wang Hao looked around, walked around the barricades, and first came to the nearest cow corpse, bending down to touch it. Decompose? In general, the harvest is slightly lower than that of ordinary cave creatures. Of course, this is relative to monsters of similar size. What's more, the 5 people are in a team. What's surprising is that it is an attribute spirit. Even if it is of ordinary grade, it is tempting enough. There are many cow corpses here, and the accumulated number is not a small number. After satisfying his curiosity, Wang Hao first adjusted the distribution method to captain distribution, and then waved to the other 4 people. Everyone acts separately, and try to deal with the spoils as soon as possible. Captain distribution means that all the picked up items are received in the captain's package, and then they are distributed uniformly later. It can be said that this distribution method is rarely used unless there is a certain degree of trust. Wang Hao did this to be fair. The spoils produced by a bull monster cannot be divided into 5 equal parts. In addition, it is more convenient to reduce the 5% commission by the total amount. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Lin Xiaoxiao and the other 2 agreed immediately and ran away separately. Before taking action, they did not forget to take back their castles. Xingwei hesitated a little, but finally chose a direction to pick up the cow corpses on the ground. Wang Hao saw this. Take it slow. It is inevitable to worry about the first cooperation, fearing that you will encounter shameless black equipment. This is understandable. Over time, you will see the heart of a person. Wang Hao put away the castle and went alone to the direction where the cow corpses were most concentrated. Just now, he stood on a high place and looked out, and found that there were surprisingly many monsters in this direction, and it was relatively difficult to kill them. If he was right, there would be a surprise over there. Without deliberately speeding up, he moved forward step by step. Along the way, Wang Hao encountered a fallen cow carcass blocking the road, and he decomposed it and cleared a narrow path. The collapsed brick walls, abandoned thatched huts and soft small mud pits were bypassed one by one. Decomposition is impossible. When he touched these obstacles with his javelin, the message given by the system was very ruthless. Ding, this scene cannot be decomposed. Think about it. It makes sense. If the copy scenes can be decomposed, wouldn't the daily exploration in the future change its taste? After giving up this thought, Wang Hao walked faster and faster. The dairy farm was really not big. After walking for 4 or 5 minutes, a circle of rotten wooden fences appeared at the bottom of the field of vision. The terrain there was much lower than the surrounding area. It was like a small basin. The place where Wang Hao stood was exactly the ridge of the basin, and the scene in front of him was clear at a glance. In the wooden fence, a lonely and tall cow monster was wandering aimlessly. Unlike other cow monsters, this tall cow monster was black and white, with smooth fur and a golden crown on its head, which was very impressive. Ding! This is a lonely cow king. You can try to kill it. In addition to the cow king, there is also a dark golden treasure chest half hidden behind a rock that looks like a bench. Ding! This is a buried golden treasure chest. There is only one chance. Maybe it won't be here next time. Golden treasure chest? Wang Hao immediately became interested. As for the silly cow king next to him, he chose to ignore it. This is a golden treasure chest. A rare golden treasure chest. After being in the cave world for so long, he has only seen this golden treasure chest once. After a brief consideration, Wang Hao decided to make a move. As for the legendary unkillable cow king, just think of a way to lure him away. Chapter 499 Victory. Waited for 10 minutes. Lin Xiaoxiao and others cleaned up the battlefield. And at Wang Hao's signal, they quietly came over. They saw the cow king. They also saw the gold treasure chest. Do you understand the tactics just arranged? Wang Hao lowered his voice and asked in a low voice. The four nodded in unison. Then act. After giving the order, Lin Xiaoxiao rushed out first, waving the bloody spiked hammer in his hand, and ran towards the wandering cow king. While running quickly, he made a huge noise. Huang Dainu and Ding Chong followed closely behind. Stinky cow. Come to my basin. Cow king. Die. Grandson. Take my stick. The three shouted and swung their weapons like the wind. Their purpose was to irritate the cow king who was guarding the gold treasure chest, so that Wang Hao and Xing Wei could steal the house secretly. It was a simple trick to attack from the east and west. As expected, the IQ of the cow was really touching. Hearing the provocation, the cow king roared, moved his short legs, and ran towards the three invaders. In the angry cow's eyes, there were two curved arcs. Crackling, the cow opened its mouth, and a fist-sized lightning ball spewed out. Boom! The lightning ball hit the wooden fence, and it exploded and flew, emitting a puff of choking black smoke. Oh my god! Lightning enhancement! Run! Huang Dainu and Ding Chong screamed and turned to run. Lin Xiaoxiao, who was in the front, was more dedicated. She didn't shout, but shuddered all over, threw the spiked hammer to the ground, and followed her companions with her head in her hands, running stumblingly. Doing this, they are still worried that the cow king will come to their senses and see through their trick of luring the tiger away from the mountain. There is no harm in doing more. Seeing the invaders fleeing intimidated by his prestige, the cow king became more excited, waving the long-handled machete, chasing more happily. Moo! Moo! The three fleeing figures, with a silly cow king, went farther and farther. Soon, it ran up the ridge. Then it disappeared from sight. Let's go! Wang Hao waved his hand and rushed to the fence first. His speed was so fast that it was almost instantaneous, leaving a trailing afterimage along the road. Xing Wei hurried to catch up. His speed was obviously much slower. Even so, it was much faster than the average survivor, at least ranked in the upper middle. Hiss. The snake pet rushed for the third time, because it had received secret instructions from its owner. The stone crawled a little slower and followed Xing Wei in a winding way. Soon, the two of them climbed over the smoking fence one after the other and came to the bench rock. The appearance of the gold treasure chest was dull because its surface was covered with a shallow layer of black dirt. At first glance, it was just like dark gold. No delay. No need to delay. Wang Hao immediately bent down, stabbed the sharp water-breaking dagger into the gap of the box lid, and quickly thrust it outward. Then, he quickly thrust the javelin in his left hand in. At the same time, he turned sideways and held his breath, avoiding the direction of the box lid opening. Time was very tight. Even if he stopped for a moment to perform perspective, it would feel delayed. Click! The box lid suddenly opened. The open golden treasure chest disappeared immediately in front of Wang Hao's eyes. At this time, Xing Wei had just approached. He had never seen the items in the treasure chest, and only saw the golden light disappear, and the target completely disappeared. I fainted. This is too fast. Will the bull monster boss that was led away return for this reason? At this moment, an extremely angry roar sounded from the direction where the cow king chased out. Ding ding ding. The muffled sound of stomping on the ground gradually became clearer. Obviously, the Cow King found out that he was deceived and was rushing back here. Old Xing. Retreat. Wang Hao dodged and retreated quickly, bypassing Xing Wei, who was a little dazed, and quickly returned along the original path. The treasure chest was in hand. Why stay here? A Cow King is not scary. If he was not worried about affecting the subsequent monster spawning, he would not have gone through so much trouble. Oh! Good. Xing Wei came to his senses and hurriedly ran after him. The reason why he was stunned just now was because he saw the spoils of war message. Everything in the treasure chest was exquisite, especially the gold ingots. Because the harvest was so rich, it was a little unbelievable. Even for a moment, he had the idea of robbing. Fortunately, reason overcame greed. The two ran out of the fence one after the other, and ran towards the slightly higher ridge. As long as they ran into the portal and returned directly to Falong Town, the Cow King would not be able to catch up. As soon as Wang Hao crossed the ridge, he saw the furious Cow King returning. Behind him, Lin Xiaoxiao and the other two were following. They each used strange tricks to try to prevent the Cow King from returning. At this moment, the Cow King's body swelled up. Especially his belly was bulging like a ball, and his eyes were even more blood red. Moo! Seeing the two invaders escape from the cowshed, the Cow King was furious and opened his mouth suddenly. In an instant, the swollen white belly shrank down, and a ball of lightning that was bigger than the head was about to emerge from the cow's mouth. Big move. Absolute big move. If this ball of lightning shot at him, it would cause some trouble. Wang Hao didn't want to be struck by lightning, so he activated the skill Phantom Dance without hesitation, intending to compete with the giant lightning ball. Of course, he was confident that he could avoid it. Sometimes, accidents are everywhere. Just when the lightning ball was about to be ejected, Lin Xiaoxiao, who was following closely behind the Cow King, saw Wang Hao in danger. Her pretty face turned pale, and she hurriedly took out a new spiked sledgehammer and smashed it at the target cow's head without hesitation. The spikes were glowing with blood. Entrained by the whistling wind, they dragged a trail of red afterimages and rushed towards the selected target. Their momentum was unstoppable. At the same time, the little pink rat following her foot also moved. Its fat body suddenly grew bigger, rolled rapidly, and bit the right hoof of the Cow King. Puff! Crack! Two crisp sounds, very clear in the vicinity. The spiked sledgehammer broke off a section of the horn and landed on the back of the Cow King's head. Immediately, it collapsed. The sharp spikes penetrated the collapsed skull and pierced into the deepest part. In addition to this fatal injury, the Cow King's right hoof was also bitten into two by the rat. As it was pulled back, the tall and strong body fell forward. Plop! The fallen Cow King spat out blood foam, loosened the long-handled machete, twitched weakly twice, and then completely stopped moving. Ding! After a hard fight, your teammate Lin Xiaoxiao killed the final boss of the mysterious level, the Cow King, and you can pick up the spoils. Lin Xiaoxiao, Wang Hao, the remaining three. Is this the end? Wang Hao's dancing phantom is still there, but his body has stopped, staring blankly at the ridge not far away. It seems hard to believe the scene in front of him. The cow level won't be ruined just like this. Chapter 500. Worry is unnecessary. Time passed by bit, looking at the fallen Cow King. Everyone hesitated for a moment, waiting for new system information. However, they thought too much. Except for the message that just flashed. No more information was released. No news. Perhaps the situation is not bad. Lin Xiaoxiao, like a child who made a mistake, took back the spiked sledgehammer in his hand, stepped over the machete weapon on the ground, and walked in front of Wang Hao. Brother, did I get into trouble? I was just worried about you just now. It's okay. Things are not that bad. Wang Hao comforted softly. At this point, there is no need to blame one's own people for a dead cow. First, it will not help. Second, as Wang Hao said, things may not be bad. This place is very similar to the game, but it does not mean that it will be exactly the same. Even if it is the same, there is nothing to worry about. The gold treasure box just now can make up for everything. Brother Hao, what should we do? Ding Chong was a little frustrated. He believed that the death of the Cow King would most likely close this monster spawning holy place, and no longer spawn ordinary cow monsters. Wang Dania acted indifferent. As long as Brother Hao was there, There would be no problem that could not be solved. He always thought so. Zhang Wei did not understand the situation in the field, so he remained silent. Wang Hao was not worried about these things. He walked to the body of the Cow King and touched it with his javelin. Pick up. Ding, refined cowhide +1. Long-handled machete forging diagram +1. Crown of the Cow King +1. Would attribute spirit excellent +1. The 4 trophies were collected into the ring space. Okay. Everyone disperse and check again. If there is nothing missing, we should return to the market town. Whether the cow pass is still there or not, we will know after we go out of the portal. After saying this, Wang Hao stood up and walked towards the fence of the basin. He had been in and out too hastily just now and did not search there properly. Now that the Cow King is gone, it's just the right time to make up for the search. The remaining 4 members of the team moved upon hearing the order. Another half an hour later, a group of 5 people returned to Phylong Town through the elliptical portal. The spoils have been counted before returning. General Sundry's total: 800 units of beast meat, 160 L of beast blood, 200 pieces of leather, 400 units of bone meal, 86 pieces of wood attribute spirit ordinary, 7 pieces of wood attribute spirit excellent. This kind of spoils are basically distributed equally. Each team member gets 152 units of beast meat, 30.4 L of beast blood, 38 pieces of leather, 76 units of bone meal, 16 pieces of wood attribute spirit ordinary, 1 piece of wood attribute spirit excellent. The rest were treated as dungeon compensation and were divided equally between Wang Hao and Ding Chong. No one cared about the slight deviation. There were many places for cooperation in the future, so there was no need to be fussy. As for the other special items, after some friendly negotiations, Wang Hao took 2 upgrade talismans. Lin Xiaoxiao took 1 upgrade talisman, a wall breaker and refined cowhide. Ding Chong got 2 units of gold ingots. Wang Dania got 1 unit of gold ingot and would attribute spirit excellent. And Zhang Wei kept 2 units of gold ingots and the long-handled machete forging diagram. The remaining crown of the Cow King and cross-domain teleportation scroll belonged to Ding Chong and Wang Hao respectively as agreed compensation. There must be a difference in value. As long as they are not of the same kind, there will be differences in quality. The 5 people basically follow the principle of each taking what he needs. We can't sell these precious spoils to others for absolute fairness. Next to the town portal, Wang Hao looked back at the portal. After the group returned, the solidified strange stone turned back into an elliptical portal. And the content of the portal has not changed much. Ding, this is a portal to another world. Warriors can team up to explore. The total number of explorations per day, 2. Note, the mysterious level is only open to the team, and the upper limit is 5. It seems that the worry is unnecessary. Wang Hao breathed a sigh of relief and looked sideways at Wang Daolong who had been stationed here. Daolong, arrange for people to temporarily seal this place. You come with me to the gathering stone and pull another group of people over. Xiao. The cow pass should be fine. You also help to keep an eye on this place. Later, I will build a new closed area here and bring the second batch of people to experience it. Laozing, please ask Qin Yujiang and Wu Zhao about their decision. Wang Hao arranged it in an orderly manner. The last decision he mentioned was that he planned to invite the 2 to enter the cow pass to make up for the loss of the teleportation ring. However, this does not conflict with the original agreed conditions. Wang Hao really wants to win over the powerful survivors and strengthen the strength of Phylong Town. To gain something, you need to learn to share. Okay, I'll go now. Zhang Wei nodded and agreed, turned and walked away. All the arrangements are in place. Wang Hao did not stay any longer and left with Wang Daolong. 1345. Wang Hao leaned comfortably on the sofa. For the whole morning, in addition to 2 expeditions to the Cow Pass, he also brought in 10 reliable people through the gathering stone in the castle. So far, Phylong Town has gathered 25 people. If you count the 5 Li's who have not returned, the total population has reached 30. It's quite strong. Wang Hao has personally verified the cow level. The Cow King inside has been refreshed again. Still as stupid and irritable, but his strength has dropped by half. In addition, there are 100 ordinary cow monsters. In other words, the difficulty of the cow level has been reduced by half, and the spoils produced are naturally reduced by half. But it is also tempting enough. At least, it can guarantee the hunting needs of the market town, thus becoming a stable source of income. It is worth mentioning that Ding Chong can also lead the team in. The advantage of this is that you can free yourself, and don't have to follow it every time to challenge the level. Wang Hao burped. Having lunch with Lin Xiaoxiao increased his appetite, and he ate a large bowl of rice with gravy alone. I am still full now. By the way, let's take a look at the acquisition situation. Wang Hao called up the system panel and switched to the transaction interface. As expected, the goods posted in the early morning were sold out. Click to collect. Ding! Stone plus 10,120. Wood plus 14,000. Copper ingot plus 350. Grass plus 28,000. Now, the construction resources needed to upgrade the castle are finally gathered. By the way, he also glanced at the sales market. The construction resources on sale have increased by about 5% to 10%, which is already at a relatively high level. Fortunately, I was decisive enough. I gave up some resources early, and then took the building resources. Okay, let's go to the first floor to see if there are any hints for the hidden condition of permanent fortress. Wang Hao stood up. There was only one step left to upgrade the castle, and he was filled with anticipation. Tap, tap, tap. Wang Hao walked downstairs quickly, and came to the gray button at the innermost side, concentrating his mind on it. How could this happen? Chapter 501, Fulfilling a Wish. The message above the upgrade button has no changes in the first half, except for 2 more lines at the end. Castle upgrade conditions. Stone 100,000. Wood 20,000. Iron ingot 10,000. Copper ingot 1,000. Silver ingot 100. Gold ingot 10. This upgrade is the ultimate form of the castle. Hidden condition, permanent fortress. Ding, due to the availability of building resources. The hidden condition is clearly stated. System prompt, in each major domain, the permanent castle is the only one that exists, and cannot be moved. What is surprising is the last sentence of the message. Immovable? Wang Hao frowned. And out of subconscious habit, he raised his left arm, and aimed at the teleportation ring on the middle finger of his left hand. Teleportation castle. Isn't it an immovable castle? Could it be related to it? As soon as this thought came up, it was like a grass seed left on fertile soil, quickly taking root and sprouting. What if it is? Anyway, I won't lose anything. Just do it. Wang Hao called up the chat box of Lin Xiaoxiao and Wang Daolong, gave them some instructions, and activated the teleportation ring on his hand. As long as he retrieved the 5 subsidiary castles and upgraded his own teleportation castle to the maximum level, everything would be clear. Outside the Sheep District Teleport Castle, a large area of lush green grass encircles the entire teleport castle. Lush and green, with fresh air. Only in the direction of the Iron Gate, there is a winding lush road. In the green grass, square or round rolling marks can be seen, as if camping mats or tents have been laid on them. After walking along the castle, Wang Hao finally stopped. Director Zhang's pursuit of life is really enviable. No wonder he can shoot so many popular short films. Taste comes from life. Recalling Zhang Wei's purchase of beret patterns in the past, he felt that he was free and easy by nature and knew how to enjoy. Take it. When we return to Falong Town, let Zhang Wei help us design some green areas for the town. Life should be enjoyed. Wang Hao didn't plan to keep the grass here. After taking the castle, he bent down and crouched to break down the grass. Inside a teleportation castle, Zhao Desui and Xue Deli gathered in front of a bonfire, whispering about something. The two looked solemn, with their brows knitted together. Old Zhao, the leader asked us to give up this place immediately? Were we coerced? Not really. I just asked Shenhan. They are all fine in Falong Town. No one restricts their personal freedom. Zhao Desui shook his head and replied. Wasn't Falong Town established by Wang Hao? If we do this, will it be considered as being acquired and incorporated? Didn't the leader say that we will still maintain our autonomy and just wait for a while to observe? But I am not willing to accept this. The two people's voices became lower and lower. It was not because they had any secrets to discuss, but because they felt that the living under someone else's roof strategy of Leader Qin was very, very unreliable. After much discussion, Zhao Desui and Xue Deli finally decided to meet at Falong Town. There was no other way. Most of the assets of the Nyochi Chongtian alliance were placed on Qin Yujian alone, including the Haiyan Castle they had painstakingly built. If they insist on staying, it means parting ways. In that case, half a month of efforts and sacrifices will return to zero. The two looked at the teleportation castle in front of them reluctantly, as well as the flower field that had just been leveled, with complicated thoughts. This attached intermediate castle was originally intended to be the headquarters of the Nyochi Chongtian Alliance. Now, if they leave, it will be as difficult as climbing to the sky to return again. Oh, I hope that the leader's choice is right. Zhao Desui and Shui Deli sighed and walked towards the nearest earth wall. As the two dug the passage and finally pierced the barrier film and left, the cave space returned to peace. Another quarter of an hour passed. Wang Hao walked out of the half-open iron gate. This teleportation castle, which originally belonged to the cattle area, was the third stop of his hurried journey. It turned out that he planned to collect it last. Chongtian League has always acted as a team. Since Qin Yujiang got a teleportation ring and came to Feilong Town with Chen Han, there must be someone staying at the affiliated castle. To avoid unnecessary conflicts, Wang Hao planned to slow down. Who would have thought that Qin Yujiang had just sent a message to inform him that the place had been evacuated? This gesture of goodwill was obvious, and it also made him temporarily change his itinerary. Next to the flower field, Wang Hao found traces of turning the soil in the flower field and immediately realized that someone had just left. You are really thoughtful. But when you find that Feilong Town is more suitable for survivors to live, you will not regret your choice today. After whispering a few words, Wang Hao raised his left arm and put his palm against the not-so-cold city wall. Collect. In a cave with an ice field scene, the teleportation castle stood in the middle, looking lonely and cold. Buzz. After a buzzing sound, Wang Hao walked out of the castle. Outside the castle, the light snow mixed with mud was still there, and dense and messy dog footprints could be seen on it. This is the Tiger Area Teleportation Castle. It is also the fifth stop of Wang Hao's journey. That is, the last stop. The original owner of this place was Wu Zhao, who was the most thoughtful. I didn't expect that old Wu was a dog lover, and he had more than one pet dog. He likes to play in the snow. Could he be a dog expert? A husky? Wang Hao took a quick glance and guessed some truth from the chaotic footprints. Old Wu asked me to collect as much residual snow as possible. Is he trying to decorate a new home for the dogs? He still treasures a little bit of broken snow. Forget it. Let's make some snow for him when we go back. Xiao Xiao seems to have mentioned that she has a snowmaking pattern. The residual snow on the ground was pitch black, without any beauty. It took no time to collect it bit by bit with an engineer shovel. Wang Hao turned around and muttered to himself, and pressed his palm to the cold wall beside him. Collect. 1 day later. That is, January 16th. Year 1 of the cave calendar. 5:30. After half a day of trekking and busy, Wang Hao returned to the town quietly, walked out of the positioning room, came to the iron gate on the first floor. The one on duty here today was the yawning Lin Xiao Xiao. At her feet, the hamster Xiaofan was full of energy, in sharp contrast to the sleepiness of her owner. Guan Yong and Li Yi were still out exploring. Without the gathering stone, they wanted to return to Feilong Town, but they couldn't do it for a while. Seeing someone walk out of the iron gate, Xiaofan immediately squeaked to wake up the owner and raised one of his front legs to point. Lin Xiaoxiao rubbed her sleepy eyes, and when she saw clearly that it was Wang Hao, she smiled and her tired look disappeared. Then, she opened her arms and ran over. Brother, you are back. Wang Hao glanced around with the corner of his eyes, and seeing that no one else was paying attention to the side, he immediately hugged Lin Xiaoxiao in his arms. Come on. Kiss. Some things should be left to nature. After experiencing a strange combination of circumstances on the Linglong platform, the relationship between the two gradually became closer, and they became better and better every day, just like a couple in love. Especially in the past 2 days, the two have gone through several sublimations, and they are really inseparable. Kiss. Lin Xiaoxiao was reluctant to refuse, and let her cheek be pecked. Then she looked down at Wang Hao's left hand. Brother, have you finished collecting the castle? Yes. While everyone is resting now, it's just right to put the teleportation castle in place in one step. Wang Hao loosened his arms, turned around happily, and faced the already spectacular teleportation castle. Then, he sent the teleportation ring on his left hand over. Chapter 502 Permanent Fortress. In front of the castle, under the urging of Wang Hao's thoughts, from the dragon mouth of the teleportation ring, clouds of green smoke gushed out and quickly flew towards the city wall in front. In the smoke, many castles came out one after another. Plop! Plop! The mini castles touched the cold outer wall, and one after another broke into pieces, seeping in from the gaps. Then, they seeped in from the brick joints. Boom! Ding! The teleportation castle was merged successfully, and the current progress is August 12th. Boom boom! Ding! The teleportation castle was merged successfully, and the current progress is September 12th. Ding! The teleportation castle was merged successfully, and the current progress is October 12th. Boom boom! Ding! The teleportation castle has been merged successfully, and the current progress is November 12th. Ding! The teleportation castle has been merged successfully, and the current progress is December 12th. 5 consecutive muffled sounds came from the inside of the castle, as fast as popping beans. Wang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao had seen this kind of castle expansion scene several times, so they were not surprised. They just moved back step by step as the city wall moved outward. When the 5th muffled sound stopped, the scale of the teleportation castle in front of them was no different from that of a high-level castle. Just when the two thought that the upgrade was over, a more magnificent, deep and dull sound resounded throughout the Filong town. It also awakened the sleeping residents in the market town. Buzz! The teleportation castle, which has always been in the form of an ancient castle, began to rise step by step at the moment of the loud roar. And the gaps in the outer wall quickly seeped out strands of silver light. No, it's silver juice. The bright silver juice flowed along the surface of the wall, as if it was going to cover the entire castle. Strange. Wang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao looked at each other and immediately jumped back. At the same time, Wang Hao also found that there was a new message in the message bar floating in front of him. Ding! The teleportation castle is transforming into a permanent fortress. Please wait patiently. Just below the message, there is a red and white progress bar that fills up quickly. As long as the red fills the blank, it means the transformation is complete. Permanent castle. Sure enough, it's just as I expected. Wang Hao was overjoyed, and his left thumb gently rubbed the teleportation ring. A little impatient. As long as the transformation here is completed, he will immediately summon the castle base to complete its ultimate upgrade. The first floor of the town. The residents awakened by the loud noise walked out of their respective bases and looked up. There were survivors living here, and there were also their pets. Also included were the 3 goblins in the goblin shop. Pairs of eyes, watching the rising teleportation castle, were shocked. Such a spectacular scene was beyond their imagination. The castles I had seen in the past always extended in breadth. Even if the height increased to a certain extent, it would not stretch continuously like the one in front of me. Miracle! It is really a miracle. The upper space. The 3 survivors, wearing their clothes, hurriedly ran out of the castle stone house and gathered together. The one who ran out one step earlier than them was Huang Daniu, who lived at the entrance of the gold mine. What's going on? Listen. It's exactly the same as yesterday's movement. Could it be that the mayor is upgrading the meeting hall? No way. Didn't it just upgrade yesterday? I think it's possible. That's right. You have seen Brother Hao's magical methods before. It is absolutely shocking and awe-inspiring. Stop comparing. Let's go! Huang Dania led 3 people and ran down the stairs quickly. More and more onlookers came. Wang Hao didn't care about this. At this moment, he focused most of his attention on the growing progress bar, waiting for the transformation to be completed. 1/3 left. Almost. Only a little bit of the length of a knuckle left. Come on. Okay. It's full. Ding. Transformation completed. Boom. The castle in front of them stopped rising. Everyone in Filong town looked at the permanent fortress that had pierced through the top of the cave. Ding. This is a permanent fortress. Permanent fortress. A fortress building attached to a mysterious item, with flower fields, workshops, watchtowers, moats and other structures, and has excellent defensive capabilities. The fortress cannot be moved. Wow. Fortress. This is a solid fortress. Brother Hao used it as the town's meeting hall, which was really a big deal. Everyone's safety no longer needs to be worried about. TSK. There is also a moat. Look. The watchtowers set up at the 4 corners are so high. But before they could have enough of the sight, Wang Hao, who was standing under the fortress, made a new move. He raised his hand to summon the advanced castle, pulled Lin Xiaoxiao beside him, and plunged into the iron gate. What is this for? The answer will be revealed soon. Just 5 seconds later, The permanent fortress and the high-level castle standing next to each other showed signs of merging again. Because they are gradually approaching. Roar. Inside the high-level castle, a long dragon roar suddenly sounded, penetrating the thick outer wall and echoing in the sky above Phylong Town. The dragon roar was louder than yesterday. Everyone could clearly see circles of translucent ripples spreading in all directions. Under the earthen wall stairs, Wang Daniu, Wang Daolong and a group of people gathered together, shouting and cheering in extreme excitement. Look! There are sound waves spreading in the sky. Hey! It really looks like ripples in the lake. Brother Daolong? Is this the dragon that Brother Hao raised alive? His voice is really loud. Brother. I'm not talking about you. Ding Chan covered his ears and spoke incoherently. Old Huang. This green dragon appears too often. Right? Didn't it find the ring again? Wang Daolong laughed very happily, smacking his lips as if he was eating. How should I know? Look! The two castles are about to collide. In front of the goblin shop. Damn! What's that sound? My ears hurt. Me too. Cover your ears quickly. Elder. Is a monster born? Why don't we escape back to the headquarters base? Dragon roar. This is a bit like a dragon roar. Buduoduo ignored Jianlai's noise, stroking his goatee, his eyes sparkling. Buduoduo, the goblin, is not the only one who knows about dragon roars. Beside the four castles in the distance, Wu Xiao, Sun Wei, Qin Yujiang and Wang Xiaocui all looked stern, staring at the iron gate of the high-level castle in a daze, as if they were going to find something from it. They have all seen the virtual real shadow of the blue dragon, but this is the first time they have heard such a loud and vibrant dragon roar. What happened in the castle? Inside the high-level castle, a transparent hemispherical light shield covered the innermost area. In the light shield, Wang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao stood side by side. The upgrade button floating on the wall had disappeared. Instead, there was a mini green dragon that was only 3 feet long. The dragon roar just now came from it. Compared with the past, the green dragon was no longer arrogant and indifferent, and its body was no longer huge and coiled. Its agile dragon eyes were filled with gratitude and excitement. After the dragon roar, the little green dragon raised its mouth corners and showed a kind smile. Wang Hao, are you really going to upgrade? If you want to interrupt, I can help you stop it. A sharp and thin voice, like a baby, came out of the smiling dragon's mouth. This dragon actually spoke human words. Chapter 503 I Can Take You Away. Qinlong spoke human language. Wang Hao was not surprised, but felt, as it should be. Can you stop it? Of course. Mini Qinlong answered proudly. It seemed that this was a trivial matter. What? If you want to stop it, you have to hurry up and rush before the complete merger. Wang Hao thought about it and shook his head. Why stop it? The merger of the two castles is a good opportunity for you to be free. Right? Unless, Wang Hao paused, you don't want to regain your freedom. Before confirming the upgrade, the system once gave a warning that once the merger was carried out, the permanent fortress would disappear from then on, leaving Phylong Town without a solid meeting hall. The benefit of the fortress disappearing is that the ring wraiths can be freed. Qinglong told himself this. How can I think of it? I dream of it. Mini Qinglong's eyes became softer, thinking back to the past. He was captured by a powerful person and his soul was poured into a treasure ring, thus becoming a ring wraith without freedom. The time was very long. So long that he couldn't remember how many years had passed. Moreover, when he told Wang Hao, he also concealed some information. Now he is not only free from the confinement of the ring, but also has greatly supplemented his own soul power because he swallowed the treasure spirit cage and the imprisoned ghost the day before. Now, he can leave here and return to the dreamland of the 9 heavens. In fact, even if the castles are not merged, as long as he is willing to give up part of his true spirit, he can break through the prison. He stayed here only for the promise that this little devil once made. At this moment, he witnessed the fulfillment of the promise, and proved that his waiting was not wrong. In the world, there are indeed many treacherous villains, but there are also honest and trustworthy gentlemen. Just when Qinglong was in a complicated mood, the two castles in the outside world finally came into contact and began to collide. The collision was silent, like two transparent energy bodies, silently overlapping each other. 1 inch, 2 inches, 1 foot, 2 feet. 1 zhang. 2 zhang. The overlapping speed was very fast. But Wang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao could still clearly perceive every detail of the overlapping of the castle. Time lasted for half a minute. As the last tremor under the feet stopped, the castle base completed the final upgrade. Ding, the base was upgraded successfully. Ding, the castle base is already in the ultimate form and cannot be upgraded again. Eternal Fortress, a fortress building that integrates life, office, and war. It has multiple forms to transform, and is suitable for various harsh environments such as deserts, oceans, and glaciers. That's it? Eternal Fortress. This name is really domineering. I don't know what the outside world has become. Although the two talked with Qinglong for a long time. Due to the existence of the hemispherical light shield, no sound from outside could be heard. The light shield was casually set up by Qinglong. After the fortress was successfully upgraded, Wang Hao felt a chill on the middle finger of his left hand. As if something had left his body. He lowered his head. The transmission ring originally worn on the middle finger has turned into a transparent rainbow bridge, flying towards his right hand. In fact, it flew towards the identity ring. Swoosh! A rainbow bridge fell on the surface of the identity ring, like a flowing liquid, seeping into it bit by bit. Moreover, the appearance of the dragon-shaped decoration is changing. The open dragon mouth is more realistic. The dragon ball contained in it is 7 or 8 points more agile. Even the dull and simple color has become as warm as jade. Like a rare treasure. Ancient Azure Dragon Ring Bound, unknown technological product. Bound. Can summon or recall the Eternal Fortress. Unique in the 95 domains. Auxiliary skill cooldown time, 1h. Function 1. Can move the specified 5 survivors and randomly teleport them to any location in the same domain. Function 2. The ring owner can return to the bound Eternal Fortress. Invalid when the fortress is retracted. Wang Hao looked at all this, and couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Isn't this exactly the 2-in-1 version of the functions of the 2 rings? Only, the ring rates are gone. Roar. In the air, the mini azure dragon happily circled. Sometimes left, sometimes right, sometimes high, sometimes low, with a strong desire to soar into the sky. Finally, the azure dragon stopped, gratefully looking down. Wang Hao, thank you for your help. It should be. I won't say any more nonsense now. Azure Dragon deliberately paused, his bright eyes showing solemnity. I plan to return to the 9 heavens, and I can take you along the way, so that you can leave this cave world like a prison and return to your hometown on the surface of Blue Star. Are you willing? Return to your hometown on the surface? Isn't it a ruin? Lin Xiaoxiao couldn't help but interrupt. The solar eclipse appeared, and the blue planet was destroyed. This is a truth that they generally accepted after coming to the cave world. Returning to a devastated place that is not suitable for human life. Wouldn't it be simply uncomfortable? Wang Hao had the same idea. Qinglong's head shook slightly, and a pair of eyes flashed with disdain. Hee. You believe these nonsense? It's just an absurd excuse made by those guys with great effort. Excuse? Lin Xiaoxiao and Wang Hao were shocked. Both of them were extremely smart, and instantly thought of a possibility. A possibility close to the truth. Could it be a trick similar to the main god space? Blue Star has been known as the Emperor Star since ancient times. In the long years, intelligent life has emerged in an endless stream, and even powerful people from various races have vigorously protected it. How could there be a crisis of extinction for no reason? That set of absurd rhetoric is just to cover up their real purpose. The mini azure dragon stood up in the air, with a pair of front paws behind his back, leisurely pacing in the air, like an old private school pedant teaching and answering questions, and popularizing some common sense to the two. Those creatures who are beyond the sky. Yes, what you call behind the scenes. What their purpose is, I don't know very well. At that time, I was in a state of confusion. I only vaguely remember that the teleportation ring I was living in was thrown underground by a black-bearded Taoist. Black-bearded Taoist? For some reason, the image of Taoist Qin Chuan emerged in Wang Hao's mind. It couldn't be him. Why? Do you know him? Qinglong stopped and looked at Wang Hao in confusion. Wang Hao shook his head and said, I don't know him. I have only seen him once or twice. At that time, I suspected that he was one of the people behind the scenes. Qinglong just asked casually, and had no intention of asking further questions. It doesn't matter. Wang Hao, you haven't answered me yet. Do you want to return to the surface world? Of course I have to go back. Wang Hao was about to answer. But Qinglong added in a very old-fashioned way, but we agreed in advance that I can only take one person with me. If I take more, the group behind the scenes will notice my presence. I don't want to be surrounded by a group of bastards again. Wang Hao was stunned. One person? How is this possible? Regardless of whether the truth just now is true or false. Even if the surface of Blue Star is intact. Returning to reality alone. It's too bad. At this moment, Wang Hao was very entangled. Fortunately, Qinglong didn't rush him. Wang Hao, you have to think clearly. I can wait for you for half a day. If the time is delayed any longer, those guys will notice that I have restored my true form. After speaking, he glanced at the extremely empty fortress space, and with a flick of his slender dragon tail, he turned into a stream of green light and drilled back into the Qinglong ancient ring. At the same time, the light shield gathered outside shattered and dissipated. Suddenly, the noise and clamor from the outside world poured in like an overwhelming force. Chapter 50 for the end of the second stage. We won. Ha ha ha. God his eyes. Brother Hao is awesome. Brother Hao. Brother Hao. Brother Hao. Outside the Eternal Fortress, it was very lively. Cheers. Shouts. Loud calls. Tears of joy. All kinds of noises gathered together. What's going on? Wang Hao's eyebrows moved, and he looked at Lin Xiaoxiao beside him, wanting to get an answer from her. Lin Xiaoxiao seemed to be worried, looking down at the ground in a daze. Her hands were still rubbing the hem of her skirt, sometimes wrapped around her index finger, and sometimes letting go in annoyance. She seemed to be unaware of the commotion outside the fortress. Hey, Xiaoxiao, what are you thinking about? Wang Hao pushed Lin Xishi's right shoulder and asked softly. Lin Xiaoxiao woke up immediately. Her frowning eyebrows instantly relaxed, and the corners of her mouth raised playfully, revealing a sly and funny smile. I was thinking, what is the relationship between you and Wang Xiaocui? And why did she call your name in her dream last night? Tell me. Leniency for confession. Severity for resistance. She put her hands on her hips and interrogated fiercely. She was like a jealous tigress. Hey, what's the connection? Wang Hao was about to clarify when Wang Dalong called for instructions outside the fortress. Brother Hao, can I come in? Come in. He also wanted to figure out what was going on outside. Dang dang dang. Wang Dalong ran over happily when he saw Wang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao confronting, and the atmosphere was weird. He paused. Did he come at the wrong time? No. The big iron gate outside was not locked, and there were no snake pets and headless ghosts standing guard. Brother Hao and his wife's clothes were quite neat. By the way, we were just upgrading the castle. It was only 3 or 4 minutes, so it was not necessary to celebrate the victory in that way. The more he thought about it, the less he dared to speak. Now, it was Wang Hao's turn to be confused. Dalong's eyes were evasive, and he kept looking at himself and Lin Xiaoxiao. What was he thinking about? Hey, Dalong, what are you thinking about? There's so much noise outside. Is it because of the castle upgrade? On the side, Lin Xiaoxiao also felt that Wang Dalong looked strange, and coughed lightly, and returned to his normal standing posture. He didn't look worried at all. Brother Hao, our domain won, and we won the second stage test. Of course we have to celebrate. Wang Dalong's voice was getting louder and louder. Obviously, he was using this way to express his joy. One, it shouldn't be. The time hasn't come yet. Wang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao were stunned. Then, the two of them simultaneously called up the system panel and looked through the system messages on the chat interface. There really is one. Several lines of system messages almost occupied the entire display area, and every word was shocking. Ding, due to the appearance of the ultimate building Eternal Fortress, the hidden conditions of the trial were met, and the second stage of the trial ended early. Ding, from the day after the trial ends, according to the ranking rules, the survivors living in the 18 domains ranked in the bottom 5% will all die. Ding, the top 10 domains in the ranking will receive special reward buffs, and the resource output efficiency will increase by 1 to 10% respectively, from low to high. Ding, the final selection of the third phase will be launched in advance, and the relevant details will be announced on the 21st day. Ding, as the owner of the Eternal Fortress, Wang Hao, the survivor of the 95th domain, will receive a random excellent quality pattern, and the reward will be issued at midnight the next day. Wang Hao and Lin Xiaoxiao were dumbfounded. It's really over. How come I didn't know anything about such a big thing? Oh! The two of them reacted immediately. It must be related to the thin hemispherical light shield. Senior Qinglong arranged it to block the transmission of information inside and outside the fortress. Wang Hao subconsciously touched his nose and felt a little worried. It's strange. The early end of the two stages of the trial seems to be related to me. Is it good or bad to be so prominent? Let's take a look at the life and death list. Switch the interface. First click on the big domain list. The first place is still the 36th domain where Wang Duyu is located, and it continues to maintain its leading position. As for the second place, it has become the 95th domain. This span is very obvious. Wang Hao is not very interested in the rest of the rankings, and his eyes jump directly to the end. The big domains ranked at the bottom of the 18th place are no longer dim at this moment, but are pierced by a thick red line, which is equivalent to sentencing them to death. Seeing this, he felt sad. In order to survive, the survivors desperately accumulated building resources and upgraded their bases, just because they were afraid that the ranking of their domain would fall into the elimination zone. However, in the end, there were still tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of survivors who became victims. Presumably, some of the survivors in these domains are blaming him as the Terminator. After all, he ended the trial ahead of time. Some people laugh, and naturally some people cry. Wang Hao sighed and clicked on the personal list. On the list, Wang Duyu's first place had been squeezed out by himself, and the words Wang Hao 095 domain looked extremely dazzling. The meaning of the star number represents he does not want to explore. Perhaps the upgrade of the Eternal Fortress gives extra bonuses. Beside, okay, brother, it's amazing. The first. Lin Xiaoxiao smiled, opened his eyes, hitting his arms with his shoulders. Obviously, she also saw her personal list. Of course, her boyfriend was in the limelight. However, she immediately had a sinking face, as if thinking about something, and through the chance of hitting her arm again, she quietly pulled Wang Hao's sleeves. In this regard, Wang Hao's heart leads to God. The movement is so big that the ladder of the scene cannot be seen, and it is most likely to pay attention to the every move here in some way. Maybe. He glanced at his right hand inconspicuously, and then looked at the open iron gate calmly. At this moment, the iron gate has become a giant. The thickness of the door panel has more than doubled, and the height has reached 10 meters. In addition, there are more cold spikes on the outer surface. In order to facilitate opening, a row of fist-sized ball bearings and corresponding side rails are fixed at the bottom of the iron gate. The key point is outside the door. From such a long distance, you can still see the jubilant scene of the residents of the market town, and many people gathered next to the farmland and chicken farm, as if pointing at something. Further away, there is a bare earth wall. If the person behind the scenes is monitoring this place, it must be through some magical spying method. Maybe even the fortress can't block it. Wang Hao pondered for a moment and began to explain in an orderly manner. DeLong, let everyone keep a low profile on the world channel, but you can open up the publicity on the large domain channel. I will give you the authority to deal with the chicken farm. Find some knowledgeable survivors and let them breed as soon as possible. Oh! And to celebrate the trial, all the brothers in Falong Town will be given 500 milliliters of clean water. Report the total amount to me, and I will give it to you. Let Ding Chong handle the cow pass himself. I have to go out today. After arranging these, Wang Hao waved his hand to let Wang DeLong go, and winked at Lin Xiaoxiao. Lin Xiaoxiao nodded slightly. Chapter 505, Exposed. Some things. Two people can understand each other's thoughts by exchanging glances. When did they have this tacit understanding? Perhaps it was on the Linglong platform. Perhaps it was after a passionate kiss in District 42. Without waiting for Wang Dalong to walk away, Lin Xiaoxiao stretched out sleepily, yawned, and walked out of the fortress slowly. Then, he returned to his residence. Not long after, Wang Xiaozui appeared outside Lin Xixia's castle, looked around nervously, and then knocked on the door and flashed in. In the empty fortress, Wang Hao thought about it, and clicked on the chat interface again. World channel. Did you see that Wang Hao from the 95th domain suddenly reached the top? Is it because of the Eternal Fortress? Of course. What do you think the Eternal Fortress is? My C. Our domain is ranked 350th. We had hope of turning the tables. I curse the Wang family to have no anus when giving birth. I will never let you go even if I die. The person above has a really bad mouth. If you are afraid of death, why did you do anything earlier? Besides, the elimination rules are set by the people behind the scenes. If you have the ability, go and kill them. Thank you, Uncle Wang. Our domain is ranked 340th. We are worried all day long. We can't eat well, sleep well, or pee. Now we can lie down and sleep well. The Uncle Wang here obviously refers to Wang Hao. Woo. Woo. We don't want to die. It's finally over. Live one day at a time. Who knows what the next stage of the trial will be like? Construction resources are exchanged for clean water and food. Sold in large quantities. Rich bosses. Hurry up. Oh my god. The above is really a genius. Selling construction resources just after the trial is over? I am in awe. Brothers and sisters from the 95th domain. Come out and tell everyone what kind of person Wang Hao is. Wait. I left Qin Youjiang's contact information before. I'll ask him privately first. The large domain channel is much more harmonious. At least, there won't be a messy scene like the world channel. Wang Hao just took a glance and felt that it was meaningless. The praises did not relieve his worries, but lingered in his heart for a long time. Half a day. Only half a day. Should I take a gamble? Mysterious Hall. Chen Chuan. Su Chongchun. And Bai Suzhen hid in a hidden corner outside the display screen. All with dark faces. It's broken. You still know it's broken? Su Chongchun's eyes were wide open, staring at the sissy Bai Suzhen, with a face full of anger. Then, she turned to face Chen Chuan. Anger turned into anger. More and more charming. But the hoarse voice ruined this beautiful face full of resentment. Master Chen, didn't you say that there would be no problems in the 9-5 region? What should we do with this mess now? Aside, Bai Suzhen rubbed her orchid fingers nervously. After hearing Su Chongchun's words, she quickly looked at Chen Chuan for help, as if she wanted to grab the last straw. The previous disagreements were put behind her, due to his inner anxiety. His chin and nose, which should have been smooth, had blue stubble. This is rare for a cultivator. Chen Chuan. Not much better. The usual calmness had long disappeared. His dark face, which was slightly darker than the bottom of a pot, and his black beard, showed that his temperament had changed. He pulled his beard hard and muttered unwillingly, I don't understand why the group of selectors with teleportation rings were killed by Wang Hao in just one day. Chen Chuan suddenly came to his senses. The more it came to this, the more he couldn't lose his composure. Among the three, he was the wisest. If even he panicked, the situation would become uncontrollable. It's useless for us to panic now. Let's think about how to deal with the delegation that came to check. Hearing this, Su Chongchun and Bai Suzhen didn't care to complain. They frowned together and thought about what to do next. The result of the second phase of the trial showed that the Jiuwu domain was far ahead of other domains and built a fortress base first. This should have been a good thing. The purpose of this trial was to select the seeds of the sex with good fortune and then inherit the Taoist traditions of each family. It was a good thing that someone stood out. But the bad thing was, it was too fast. It was faster than anyone expected. Moreover, it was a qualitative change in just one day. The Taoist friends from other domains, the ones behind the scenes, were naturally not so convinced and clamored to find out the truth. And the selected delegations were on their way. Originally, they were not afraid. They even thought of a response. However, just now, the sissy Bai Suzhen suddenly revealed a truth. During the first stage of the trial, in order to make the two losers accept the defeat with conviction, he hid the bet technique Qiulong Nirvana Ju in a living thing. It was this living thing. Bai Suzhen could no longer sense its existence. Coupled with the sudden appearance of the Eternal Fortress, things became serious. As a cultivator, I believe in the cause and effect in the dark. Two things beyond control happened one after another, and everyone would suspect that there was a causal connection between them. At this point, we can only find ways to survive the inspection. Su Chongchun pondered for a while, and just as he was about to nod in agreement, Bai Suzhen beside him was startled again, and the shrill voice pierced his eardrums. Oh my god! The secret book's induction has appeared again, and it's getting stronger and stronger. This is the end. After saying that, Bai Suzhen took out a spherical treasure in a panic and was about to smash it on the ground. As soon as he started to move, he seemed to remember something, and hurriedly stopped his right arm, dodged to the sofa by the wall, bent over to grab his mobile phone, and then threw the ball fiercely. Boom! A cloud of smoke exploded. It was this cloud of green smoke that made Chen Chuan and Su Chongchun change color and shouted to stop it. Asshole! What are you doing? Sissy! Stop it! While shouting, the two quickly dodged and rushed towards the exploding smoke. Unfortunately, too late. The green smoke quickly dispersed, and the blonde man by Suzhen, who had just picked up the phone, was nowhere to be seen. Chen Chuan and the other man waved their arms to disperse the last bit of smoke, and then cursed angrily. Not enough to do anything, but more than enough to do harm. This coward. If cursing worked, they would definitely curse for 3 days and 3 nights, and make the Bai family's ancestral graves smoke. Now, it's useless. Bai Suzhen left, and the two of them stayed here. When the inspection delegation arrived, it would be easy to find something wrong, and they would definitely not end well. Even their teacher could not be saved. After cursing, Chen Chuan and Su Chongchun looked at each other, with a flash of determination in their eyes. Go! They have to go too. At least to avoid the current limelight. Almost at the same time, the two made their choice. The former took out a yellow paper crane, and the latter took out a tube of brown thick blood, and they fired together. Whoosh! Swoosh! After 2 sharp sounds, no figure could be seen in the mysterious hall. Only 361 high-hanging display screens were left. Chapter 506 Return I. 4 hours have passed. Inside the Eternal Fortress, Wang Hao, carrying the goblin backpack, stood in front of the window on the 3rd floor of the fortress, quietly looking down at a castle below, with a reluctant look on his face. He had been standing like this for a quarter of an hour. What have you thought about? Go or not? Qinglong's voice came from behind him. The tone was extremely calm, as if there was no emotion. Wang Hao hesitated for a moment, but he nodded resolutely. Go! This is what Qinglong was waiting for. Okay. As soon as the voice fell, a mini Qinglong suddenly appeared behind Wang Hao, turning from virtual to real. Moreover, the body expanded rapidly. At first, it was only 3 feet long, like a snake. In a moment, it became more than dozens of feet long and thicker than a water tank. The huge dragon body stretched out, and the ferocious dragon head pressed against the high dome. Then, the bright dragon eyes flashed, and it opened its mouth and sucked downwards. Huh? The powerful suction immediately wrapped Wang Hao's body and swallowed it into the dragon's mouth. Later, the dragon's tail flicked lightly, and the dragon body, that had just become solid once again, turned from solid to virtual. Roar. A low dragon roar echoed in the fortress. The almost transparent green dragon rushed out of the window, like lightning, and plunged into the luss above the market town. Completely disappeared. Dizzy, groggy, like lying on a moving sleeper train. Clearly feeling extremely sleepy, but unable to fall asleep. Time. I don't know how long it has passed. Wang Hao seemed to be immersed in a double dream, with scenes flashing through his mind. There were scenes of bloody fights. There were also clips of him and Lin Xiaoxiao being inseparable. There were also images of him and his 3 best friends walking to an internet cafe together to stay overnight. There were also images of his parents holding brooms and chasing him around the street. The fleeting light and shadows gradually became blurred. It seemed to fade from his memory and then be completely forgotten. A long time passed. Wang Hao suddenly felt a chill on his forehead, and the sudden coldness brought him back to reality in an instant. Where am I? He muttered subconsciously, but his forehead felt cold again. Then, his face felt a little cold, as if water drops were falling on it. Wang Hao opened his tightly closed eyes. Immediately, a large area of light entered his pupils, revealing the world in front of him. Huh? It's raining. The sky was gloomy, and several dark clouds gathered, just hovering above his head, squeezing out raindrops very sparingly. Wait! It's the sky! Wang Hao widened his eyes and shook his head hard, trying to wake himself up completely. The world in front of him is clearer. Except for the gloomy sky, there are dozens of lush pine and cypress trees around. Between the pines and cypresses, there is a straight cement road. At this moment, he is lying on a long wooden chair, with a soft coat under his head. Young man, you finally woke up. Please move aside. The clothes you are pillowing are mine. It's going to rain. Why don't you find a place to shelter from the rain? Oh my! It's raining! Let's stop practicing reversing into the garage today. Go and return the car first. Coach, let me practice again. Please. Hey, steer the wheel. Don't be distracted. The noisy sound seemed to appear suddenly and rushed into Wang Hao's ears, causing Wang Hao's memory to flash back. Here, it seems to be a driving school? How did I get here? Wang Hao scratched his dizzy head, exerted force on his elbows, sat up straight, and continued to look into the distance. There were 4 cement roads scattered on a large open field. The grass beside the road was bald and uneven, obviously neglected for many years. In this barren field, 4 or 5 dilapidated Santanas were driving in one direction, some crooked, some crawling slowly like turtles, and some spewing black smoke. Wang Hao was very familiar with this type of car. The training cars in small driving schools are mostly like this. It's really a driving school. Is this guy stupid? It's raining. Why is he still sitting here? Uncle Wang, let's not practice for a while. Go home and do what you need to do. Hey, the student sitting on the bench. Who is your coach? It's time to hand in the car. Okay. Wait until I finish this cigarette. The voices of 2 men sounded again from behind. The former looked a little old, and the latter was lazy and ruffian. Wang Hao turned around. In a training car with the door open, a white-haired old man in his 60s and a tall and thin middle-aged man each held a cigarette, puffing smoke. Very comfortable. The old man narrowed his eyes, as if staring at his coat on the bench. The middle-aged man wore a short-sleeved t-shirt and blue pants, and the words XX Driving School could be seen on his chest. None of them. Wang Hao raised his right arm and rubbed his temple, letting the reality in front of him gradually overlap with the distant memory. This driving school in front of him was the Lanqiang Driving School, where he learned to drive. Was I dreaming just now? This dream was too real. Then, he shook his head to deny this conjecture. Because, when Wang Hao just stood up and sat up, his left hand touched a rough woven fabric. It's a goblin backpack. Wang Hao recognized it immediately. I'm not dreaming. The world in front of him was blue sky, white clouds, green grass and red flowers. He could faintly hear the car horns and the noise of people outside the wall. There was no such thing as a devastating solar eclipse disaster. I'm back. Wang Hao jumped up, grabbed the backpack thrown on the chair, and ran to the gate of the driving school. Hearing this surprise, the 2 smoking buddies, who were happily sitting in the training car, looked at each other. Is this guy crazy? Uncle Wang, now that you mention it, he is really a bit weird. His clothes look quite fashionable, but he is dragging a cheap broken basket. Xiao Li, you don't understand. That's not a broken basket. We call it a backpack. It's used by mountain people to collect herbs. Hey, an old man is an old man. The 2 smoking buddies laughed and put this little episode in their lives behind them. In front of the university gate, Wang Hao looked at the newly repaired fence gate in front of him with a bitter face. In his hand, he was still tightly holding a copy of today's Kyoto newspaper, which he had just borrowed from a junior. The news in the newspaper was very eye-catching. Sister Xianyang of Huadong University suffered a fatal blow, and her qualification for guaranteed postgraduate study was cancelled by the school. A major earthquake occurred in the online literature circle, and all novels about time travel were banned by 404. The master of architectural art paid out of his own pocket to buy the red-walled art house in full. What Wang Hao cares about is not these gossips, but the date at the top. Blue Star Calendar, December 7th, 3021. This means it has been more than a year since he was kidnapped by the mastermind and entered the cave world. 1 year on the ground, half a month underground. In just over a year, I have already graduated from college. Originally, he wanted to go to the school and find out about the situation with his best friends and roommates. Now, he has completely lost interest. During the 3 years of college, he lived in a small circle in the class and had little contact with his younger classmates. Now he wants to find an acquaintance to ask. But there is no chance. Forget it. I'd better find out about my family first. Chapter 507 Return Part 2. Half an hour later, in the back alley of a snack street, Wang Hao borrowed a mobile phone from a kind-looking girl. The price was a beautifully crafted dagger. Suddenly he went to the cave world, and he was stripped clean. His wallet, mobile phone and other things were long gone. With no money, he could only barter. The price of a dagger must be worth 1 or 2 yuan of phone bills. The kind-looking girl handed him the phone without hesitation, and resolutely refused to take the unsheathed dagger. Before making the call, Wang Hao also emphasized, "Xiao Xuimiai. Don't worry. I will definitely not take advantage of you." The kind-looking girl huddled in the corner, nodding like a chick pecking at rice. Wang Hao weighed the backpack on his shoulder, pressed a familiar number, and then put it close to his ear and waited. Beep. Beep. 10 seconds passed. A slightly deep male voice finally came from the other end of the phone. "Hello. Who are you looking for?" Wang Hao immediately recognized that it was his father who was speaking on the other end. The familiar smoky voice made him lose his mind for a moment, and he felt a sour feeling in his heart. So, his father did not enter the trial world, and he was still in the human world. He was about to speak, but his father on the other end of the phone slapped his forehead, as if he had suddenly realized something. "Oh, I see. You are looking for Wang Hao. Right? This brat changed his phone number after graduating and went home. He said he wanted to settle down in a small town and become a teacher without any ambitions. For this, his mother and I have criticized him a lot." "Ah?" Wang Hao was confused. "What's going on? There is another Wang Hao in my hometown. If he is Wang Hao, who the hell am I?" The other end of the phone was indifferent to his surprise. "In the past 6 months, 3 of his classmates have called me. My phone number was given to you by him when he was in school. Right? What's your name? I'll tell him later. But this brat is a stubborn donkey. He just said him to the first 3 calls and never called back. I urged him too much, and he said something to me, saying that friendship after graduation is the cheapest. If he doesn't return your call, don't blame him." After returning home, this kid greeted us once, and then ran to the neighboring village to become a teacher without saying a word. He doesn't come home often, and rarely calls, but he is very diligent in sending things. Why am I saying this? Young man, what's your name? Wang Jianxi talked for a long time, and finally asked for the name with an apologetic look. This side, Wang Hao's face was very ugly. It seems that there is a fake Wang Hao next to his parents. After he disappeared, the fake replaced him and returned to his hometown as him. What rooted in the countryside? What friendship is cheap? All are excuses to avoid attention. Could it be? Wang Hao thought of a possibility. He quickly pinched his throat, squeezed out a sentence wrong number, and hung up the phone in a hurry. This strange behavior made the friendly girl more nervous, and she couldn't help but tighten her legs and put her hands on her chest. Scream. Dare not scream. This place is very remote, and there are all kinds of range hoods roaring, and the sound of spatulas for cooking, which is unlikely to be heard outside. If you annoy the other party, that dagger. I regret it so much. If she hadn't been in a hurry to pee, and there was a queue for the toilet outside, she wouldn't have come to this corner. Wang Hao naturally noticed the girl's nervousness, but he was too lazy to explain. He just borrowed the phone to make a call, and he was not doing anything bad. He would return it later. After hanging up the phone with his father, Wang Hao quickly dialed another number and put it to his ear. Beep beep. After a ring, a thin girl's voice appeared on the other end of the microphone. Hello. Hello. Wang Hao instantly recognized these 3 simple words. It's Lin Xiao. Yes, it's Lin Shishi's voice. Although separated by the microphone, he was 100% sure that the voice on the other side belonged to Lin Xiao. It might be a fake. Oh, I'm looking for Lin Shiju. Sorry, you dialed the wrong number. I'm Lin Xiao, not the person you're looking for. Beep. The other party hung up the phone. Wang Hao laughed and shook his head sarcastically. The person on the other end was definitely not the person he was looking for. Moreover, he had reason to suspect that the survivors who participated in the survival trial were most likely impersonators. The reason? Lin Xiao once told him that when she was a child, she played house alone and gave herself another name, which was the Lin Shiju just mentioned. This name was only known to her. Generally, if you want to impersonate someone, you mostly play with their appearance and behavior. It is impossible to completely replicate every detail. Perhaps, this is why the fake Wang Hao changed his mobile phone number and lived in a strange place. Wang Hao held the phone and pondered for a while, and decided to go back to his hometown. Without an ID card and travel expenses, he could just walk back. Besides, there were a lot of valuable things in the goblin backpack he brought with him. 2 gold ingots alone were enough to make him arrogant. He didn't plan to use his identity ring for this escape, but used it as a decoration. Using a tracker is just asking for trouble. After making the decision, Wang Hao returned the phone to the kind-looking girl, and very insistently put the copper-sheathed dagger into her hand before leaving. A girl who likes to wander in alleys should bring a dagger for self-defense. Day 3. Wang Hao sold a gold ingot on the black market, and bought a prepaid mobile phone and a camera. The mobile phone is used to surf the internet. He managed to add the QQ number of his best friend's boss. And as a lonely girl, he found out about the past school events in the past year. The camera is used to take pictures. In addition to these 2 things, Wang Hao also bought a lot of books, food and equipment parts, all of which were stored in the goblin backpack. Day 5. A street in a certain city. Wang Hao saw Wang Dalong. This street thug actually set up a fruit stall on the side of the road and started his business. During this period, there was no lack of forced buying and selling. There was definitely no one who troubled him. Former buddies or younger brothers would give him some face, and occasionally come to eat and drink for free. Wang Hao picked an opportunity when there were few customers and pressed the shutter of the camera. Day 7. Outside a high-end villa, Wang Hao stood next to a weeping willow and pressed the shutter facing the private garden in the distance. In the garden, a couple was enjoying the flowers. The photos taken were mainly of the 2 people. This couple was Lin Shishi's parents. Before leaving, Lin Xiaoxiao quietly wrote some messages on a piece of paper and asked him to run a trip for her. Nothing else. Just to confirm the safety of her parents. Although she couldn't leave the cave world, she still cared about her family. Just like Wang Hao. Day 10. Kyoto. Inside the Xintiandi shopping mall, Wang Hao silently watched a waiter selling gold and silver jewelry and took a photo when he had the chance. This pretty salesperson had a nice name. Miao Xinting. Chapter 508 Return End. 12 days later, Wang Hao returned to his hometown. There, he hid in the dark and observed for a long time. After a period of observation, Wang Hao found that these imposters were continuing their original life trajectories, as if they had never disappeared. Personality, not much change. Trajectory, also basically consistent. Moreover, there is a common feature. They are much more low-key disciplined, trying not to attract social attention as much as possible. Others, just a feeling. He has deep feelings for those who pretend to be him. On weekdays, he completes his teaching tasks with all his heart. During rest time, he basically stays in the dormitory, playing games, reading novels, and watching online dramas. And he can't be more honest. He also cared a lot for his parents. He sent things home every few days, and wrote some heartwarming words in the notes, which was more thoughtful than he thought. He was familiar with these words. He was not good at expressing himself, so he always scribbled his thoughts in a weekly diary every now and then, and threw it away or burned it after a few years. Those heartwarming words were copied on this basis, and then slightly beautified. To be fair, during the year when he was missing, this imposter did a pretty good job. In that phone call, although his father was apologizing and nagging, he could hear the pride in his words. Then I feel relieved. With his parents alive, and someone to take care of his filial piety, he was relieved of many worries. It's time to leave. Huh? How did you get out? Wang Hao was about to leave, when a sloppy old Taoist, who was setting up a fortune-telling stall on the side of the road, suddenly looked up at his identity ring, with a look of surprise on his face. Then, he seemed to realize that he had been exposed, and immediately lowered his head, and hurriedly cleaned up the fortune-telling stall on the ground. It seemed that he was planning to pack up the stall and run away. If ordinary people heard this, they would not think much. But Wang Hao was different. Not long ago, he escaped from the trial cave world and had been carefully hiding his whereabouts, fearing that the people behind the scenes would come to him. He reacted immediately after hearing this. Of course, he was not running away. Wang Hao quickly bent down and grabbed the sloppy old Taoist's arm, locking his 5 fingers tightly like an iron hoop, not letting him move again. Who is it? While shouting, he pulled out the water-breaking dagger tied to his right calf and placed it on the other's neck. Just a slight stroke would be enough to separate his head. Talking about mercy is meaningless. If his whereabouts are exposed, it is very likely to leave a big trouble for his living relatives, or endanger his friends, who are still in the cave world. Slow down. Slow down. Let's talk it over. If you kill me, They will definitely find this place by following the clues. I am not in the same group with them. The old Taoist spoke very quickly. In order to show his sincerity, he tried to raise his neck and revealed his immortal face. It's him. Wang Hao immediately had an impression. If the old Taoist's beard was removed, his gray hair was bleached and dyed, and his voice was made sharper. Wouldn't he be the golden-haired man behind the scenes he had seen before? Why is he here? Also, his strength has dropped too much. Right? He is now powerless, which is completely different from his previous strength. That's right. This person is Bai Suzhen. Seeing Wang Hao's suspicious face, Bai Suzhen immediately guessed what he was thinking and laughed. This is called concealing the aura. Do you understand? Just like you dare not use your identity ring. The methods of practitioners are hard to guard against. Don't talk about these useless things. Are you here to find me? Wang Hao pressed the dagger, and the cold blade was pressed against the skin, and even a trace of white mark could be seen. No. Bai Suzhen was still fearless, acting like a bachelor. Let's go. Let's talk somewhere else. If I come to chase you, your broken dagger can't threaten me. Despite this, he still didn't move. Obviously, he was worried. This is really not a place to chat. Once someone passes by and sees him committing crimes with a dagger, they will most likely attract the military and police responsible for public security here. Then change the place. Wang Hao put away the broken water dagger, his left hand still tightly grasping Bai Suzhen's arm, and pulled her into a deserted house. In small towns, there are many such abandoned houses. More and more young people like to settle down in the city, and at least live in small Western-style buildings in the county. So the houses in the village are abandoned. Over time, these houses will become ruins. Wang Hao turned the rusty iron lock and pushed the door open. After both of them entered, he closed the door sideways. Tell me, can you let go of your hand? No. If I really want to run, you can't stop me. Then run. I believe in fate. Wang Hao clenched his left hand tighter, not giving the other party any chance. If he could really escape violently, a powerful person behind the scenes would definitely not be so slow. In the eyes of the cultivators, the survivors are no different from ants. Now that they can be controlled by themselves, maybe it is really hiding the chi. You. Stop talking about you. Tell me something useful. I want to know what the purpose is of arranging trials for the survivors. At the beginning, they lied that the solar eclipse appeared and the blue planet was destroyed. And then they tried every means to come up with trials, and arranged tens of millions of imposters outside. Anyone would want to know the reason. Even if they really want to die, there must be a reason. Wang Hao bent his right hand, took out 2 cushions from the backpack, put them on the edge of the half-collapsed Kong, and pulled Bai Suzhen to sit down. At this point, Bai Suzhen was impeccable, and she also sat down, first glanced outside the house, and then talked freely. In fact, you are not grateful for what you have. Bai Suzhen raised her orchid finger, pinched the fake beard on her chin, coughed lightly and continued. From ancient times to the present, the cultivation has never been cut off. The cultivation sects or families hidden in various caves and blessed places will come out to select disciples every once in a while. You are this batch of disciple seeds. Disciple seeds? Yes. In simple terms, it means that the immortals accept disciples. Bai Suzhen raised her head, proud and self-sufficient. The cultivators focus on cultivation, and they are always perfunctory in reproduction. So there are not many descendants. In addition, the immortal path is difficult. Fighting is inevitable, and many people die as a result. And one more thing. Do you understand the catfish effect? Catfish effect? As soon as the words came out, Wang Hao reacted. The so-called catfish effect is to introduce competition. Let the newly joined disciples serve as a whetstone, and motivate the younger generations of the stagnant sects or families to make progress. It's really a good plan. Bai Suzhen saw the change in his expression and knew that he had understood it. So she simply skipped it and continued. Since ancient times, it has been difficult to find an immortal fate. So I said that for you. This is a great opportunity and a blessing. As long as you pass the 3 rounds of tests, it proves that you have good luck and means, and you can be selected to practice Taoism in various families. Practicing Taoism is immortality. Who in the world doesn't envy immortality? From emperors and generals to peddlers and hawkers, everyone wants to live longer. Longer. Wait, Wang Hao interrupted. He admired the other party's ability to make big promises. If he hadn't seen the cruelty of surviving in the cave, he would be tempted. Those who didn't pass the test, and those who died earlier, will they feel that they are blessed? Shouldn't you pay attention to resources when recruiting disciples? Don't you think you are too overbearing? Or do you think that we are really a group of ants who don't care about life and death? Wang Hao became more and more excited as he spoke. Unconsciously, the strength in his hands was also increasing. Hey, you heard me. Bai Suzhen pulled her arm back. Her eyes were quite resentful. If she was not worried about the leakage of qi, the boy in front of her would not be her opponent at all. If you have the ability, go and call the people above. You call us behind the scenes. We are a group of people working at the bottom, and we can't change anything. You think I am willing to hide from XE? It's because you messed up the rhythm. And the delegation is coming to investigate. Speaking of the second half, Bai Suzhen immediately stopped talking. If she continued to talk, she would be caught and taken back, which would be an even greater crime. I have to think of a way to get around it. Got it. Bai Suzhen looked at the identity ring on Wang Hao's right hand, and then glanced at the backpack on his back, and laughed. You are the Wang Hao who is so popular, right? You sneaked out this time, and you must return to the cave world, right? Do you want Lao Bai to give you some tips to make future selections easier? For example, the content of the third stage trial. I have to say, this man is mean, but his eyes are quite sharp. It can be said that he hit the nail on the head. In fact, there is no fundamental conflict of interest between us. You plan to return when you escaped. You must be worried about the friends you met, right? The reality is fine. You understand one thing. You came here to make sure your parents are doing well. If I'm not mistaken, you have been to other friends' homes, right? You can rest assured about this. We will definitely have a plan to take so many people away. Otherwise, it will not be good for everyone if social unrest or the existence of the cultivation world is known. As long as you return to the cave world and continue to maintain your current advantages, you will most likely be selected by a major force. Then you can also make a request. For example, let the loser return to the real world. These words, Wang Hao grasped the key point. That is the last sentence. As for the rest, they were all meaningless judgments. Any request is okay? Wang Hao stared at Bai Suzhen's eyes, trying to tell whether it was true or not. Not necessarily, but it is still very likely that the losers will return. Bai Suzhen felt her tightly grasped arm loosen, and hurriedly continued. If you are good enough, some old antiques may allow you to practice in the world. Then, you can also return to reality. This temptation is tempting enough. Wang Hao made a decision immediately, loosening his left hand again to make the other party feel more comfortable. The conversation is pleasant. After reaching a preliminary agreement, Bai Suzhen told him everything she knew, even deliberately revealing some secrets. As long as the Zhouwu domain, he was in charge of one in his absence, and made friends with a future star, things could still turn around. Half an hour later, the two left the deserted house one after the other, and went their separate ways. One continued his hiding journey. The other prepared to return to the cave. Hiding may be temporary and an unavoidable accident. Returning, however, was already destined. 2 days later, in a deep mountain valley, Wang Hao carefully checked the things in the backpack, looked at the direction of his hometown, and resolutely activated the ring. Teleport, buzz, an extremely vague green dragon shadow appeared in the air. He stared at Wang Hao deeply. After confirming that the other party was determined to do this, he sighed leisurely. Then, the dragon sucked. Cave calendar, January 17th. 1 year. Time, 9:15 a.m. Eternal Fortress. 3rd floor. In the room where the positioning room is located, Lin Xiaoxiao held her chin and stared at the blank wall in a daze. Since Wang Hao left yesterday, she has been staying at home like this. The construction and dispatch of Falong Town are all controlled by her remotely, directing Huang Daniu, Wang Daolong and others to be busy. The two agreed to 3 days. She firmly believed that he would return to the market town after dealing with the trivial matters of reality. It was only the first day. She was not in a hurry. Just as Lin Xiaoxiao was lost in thought, there was a slight disturbance on the wall, and ripples spread out. Then, a circular ripple portal appeared. Ah! He is back! Lin Xiaoxiao was overjoyed, jumped up from the wooden bed, and rushed to the ripple portal. Inside the portal, a familiar figure appeared. Eyes like stars. A warm smile.